Bam, here we are now. And if you have, my guess is pretty obvious, Scott Dawson from the shitty Wi-Fi of the Outer Banks. He lives in the city, KDH. Checking out the base calendar. It's a very good book she's reading. In the Fed by Dr. Ron Paul. Very lovely. And for no reason, we put her on there twice. Today is the 21st in the U.S., the 22nd in the United States. So we'll go with the 21st. That is when Guam was annexed or added to the United States. It's also the first Battle of Bull Run. The one where the Yankees went out and picnicked, thinking this will be great. And then saw the Union soldiers running past them as they all fled in terror. Because Stonewall Jackson and Beauregard wompied that assy. It's sometimes called the first Battle of Manassas, called the Battle of Bull Run. What do you like to call it?
Manassas. The Yankees always would name a battle after the closest river or stream. So in that case,
I was setting you up to say the Battle of Blue Run.
Yeah, that's what
it was.
So they'll say Antietam because Antietam Creek and the Confederates always call it Sharpsburg. So I usually go with whoever won gets to name the battle. So I call that one first Manassas.
And the second Manassas because they won them both. Yeah. So tomorrow is a reverse rainbow frog. It's the day that Andre Behring Breivik murdered 72 people in Norway, almost all of them children. He also attacked the oil ministry with van bombs. And that little turd is sitting in a Norwegian jail now. But links to Pam Geller and her Harpy Zionist organization, mysterious $100,000 in cash, laundered through Caribbean banks from Antigua. We'll put her there. I don't know. Put her in the middle at least. Trying to sell the calendar. Slippery though. My shelf's run out of room. I have too many freaking books. Should digitalize all this stuff. But anyway. The day after that though is the 23rd, which is one of the greatest days in history because that's the day General Grant died. Went back to hell. And then there's the 25th, of course, is the month anniversary of the death of John McCain. And of course, August 25th is the actual day John McCain kicked the bucket. It's great that he died on the 25th because that means every Christmas is a month anniversary of the death of John McCain. We're going to have a lot of those. Albright, Rumsfeld. Rumsfeld was was also in July. July, by the way, is Judeo-Fascist month. They have an Islamo-Fascist month, so we'll go with the July as Judeo-Fascist month because they're the ones that stole nuclear weapons from the United States and killed the Kennedys and, are sucking up $10 to $11 million a day. More than Ukraine, more than even the Taliban is the money that goes to Israel so they can maintain the apartheid state, murdering Palestinians and routinely attacking their neighbors in Lebanon and Syria. So that's the calendar out of the way for the next 3 days. Let's talk about some current events. Unless you want to go off on Grant a little bit. I mean, it is his death anniversary coming up. You want to say any kind words about Ulysses Grant?
I don't.
This whole bribery system that Ventura hates so much is set up by him.
Yeah, he was a horrible president and just had corruption top to bottom, scandal after scandal. Even the media today, which is dominated by people who love him, say he was the worst president ever. And that's a lot. Yeah, the word lobbyist comes from Grant because it was illegal to meet with railroad companies and stuff in the White House. So he did it in the Hotel of Lobbies. And then that's where the word lobbyist comes from, because he would just meet with whatever business would hand him money and to give him favors, kind of like everybody since.
Well, it's interesting to me that lobbying, like, oh, I'm a lobbyist. Like, it's just legalized bribery. It's not. That's
There's
not
no
legal in
difference
any
at
other
all.
industry. No, there isn't. It's just like,
Right.
well, I'm not paying you. There's caps on campaign financing, and yet you can.
Mhm.
Oh, here comes the stream on Odysee. Hooray! Good to see it
But you
on there.
go
All
to,
right.
as you know, if you go to DC for any kind of issue that's going on, the first thing everybody asks is which lobby are you with? And
Well, no, they're
if
like,
I
who are you with? I said, I'm
right,
just a concerned American citizen. After a while, I just started making up names. Like, yeah, we're with
yeah,
the American Freedom and da 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 da.
yeah,
Dr. Paul said they quit seeing me because he always told them no, so they just didn't even bother after a while. Odysee was delayed. Yeah, this started 5 minutes ago. Okay, there's a big lag time on Odysee, so this is live, but y'all are probably responding to stuff I said 5 minutes ago, but whatever. Jekyll Island Cartel is the guy's name, says lobbying equals purchasing influence. Yes, and that's not
yeah.
limited to U.S. corporations. That goes for China, Ukraine, you name it. I don't know why I
Yeah.
picked those two out of the blue. And that's how they roll. And one of the big ones is the environmental lobby that later on in the same broadcast, Clint from Liberty Lockdown is going to come on. We're going to talk about ESGs in about half an hour. But I have my brother on because I want to announce something. He has a Substack, finally, attached to a bank and everything. And
Yeah.
if you want to learn about pirates, Civil War history, Native American history, which one of those has to interest you, this is the place to go. All his books are on there. He's writing articles on there. He's doing MP3s the best he can, which will improve as he learns computer. And that'll all be on Substack. And I will put the link to his Substack underneath this video, and it'll be on A&C Report as soon as this video is done. So, and you can join for free, or you can subscribe. I think it's, how much is it per month? One dead Lincoln, I think.
Price of a
Five
gallon.
$1 bills, right?
Yeah.
5 Washingtons,
5 Washingtons.
because that's the only way to make $5.
Yeah. Well,
I guess you get 2 Jeffersons and 1 Washington,
right.
or coins. Yeah, that's it though. I mean,
Yeah,
unless you
do
like
20
looking at a child
Washingtons
molester. I mean, I don't know. Like, for $5 a month, or for free, you can sign up for free for a week and get all the you can get behind the paywall and see if you like it or not. You get a 7-day trial, and then after that, if you want a shekel to Scott, that's cool. Substack's the way to go. Screw Patreon and all these things. I've heard about locals. I'm not doing locals because they take a 10% and then another 2.9% and then another 5% and 30 cents on transactions. They're just like Patreon. I'm just going to get kicked off it anyway. So just become a member of A&C directly. Yeah, well, it does sound very. So yeah, we're not dealing with that.
Ticketmaster. Here's your ticket fee. Here's your entry fee. Your fee.
Ticketmaster is a cartel. Ticketmaster is a cartel. Few people go and buy up all the tickets and then sit outside as middleman, and it's just awful. Somebody just sent a dead link in and said, Ryan, not trying to hijack the stream, just wondering if you could touch on something for a minute or two. We know for sure Biden showered with daughter and sniffed pedo Peter and Hunter like his hookers. Is there definitely pedo stuff on Hunter's laptop? FYI, stream is caught up on Odysee. Okay. Pedo Pete is Joe Biden. He named himself, I think it was Pete Henderson or something. It's out of a Tom Clancy novel. He fancies himself a spy. And so on Hunter's phone, he has dad, and he refers to his father as Pedo Pete to other people. Pedo Pete means Joe Biden. That's all it is, because he's a pedophile. And yes, he showered with his daughter. She wrote about that in her diary. He also would like lay on the bed naked and comb her hair and all this other creepy stuff. And dude, I released this in 2020. It was all of the Chinese media had it all over the place, but you couldn't put it on Twitter where most of you live. And so you didn't see it. And I don't know, I was all over Bitchute, like all of us, Red Ice, myself, like all the black sheep have been banned, had this out, and
How did they get his
yes, there's
daughter?
pedophile stuff on his laptop, but it doesn't matter. There's so much. Just smoking crack's already illegal, right? The procurement of hookers for influence, the white collar crimes. Like, why do you keep raising the bar and be like, well, did he sleep with Obama's daughter? No, he didn't. Whatever, dude. Just take the W. You already got him busted in a zillion criminal activities. Why do you have to keep making it larger and larger? It's like the 9/11 people. Yeah, it's like nothing's ever enough. They keep adding more fantastical stuff, or the Holocaust. Like, it's such a horrible crime with all these millions of people being worked to death and killed and stuff. Why do you have to make up things like skeet baby shoot and holocausters and stuff? There's no reason to exaggerate something, But yeah, there are little kids in lingerie and stuff like that on the laptop. And there's 3 laptops, by the way. I hate what people say, the laptop. There's been 2 more since the first one. You said 2 minutes, so there's your $5 answer. Okay. Sorry.
How did they get his daughter's diary?
Because she left it in a house and then moved, and then the people who got it were like, hey, and turned it over to journalists. None of these people have a shred of responsibility. I mean, his daughter's in and out of rehab, and she's a little messed up sucker herself.
Well, imagine so.
And, well, yeah, I mean, it is. I understand why. His other wife and daughter are dead in a car wreck that she caused by drinking and driving, and they're disgusting. The whole Biden family. If you want to know about the Biden syndicate, go watch Corn Pop's Revenge. It's free. You just go to ancreport.com, click on ANC Films on the very top. Corn Pop's Revenge, the Biden crime syndicate. Mr. Corn Pop, exactly. In the middle of shortages, upcoming famines in the third world, the collapse in Sri Lanka and Ghana, and Europe teetering on economic crisis, massive inflation in the United States, diesel prices out the roof, gasoline prices, the worst they've been since the Obama too big to fail era. And what do? Well, they're going to codify gay marriage because, priorities. You worked in the school system and stuff. We don't have this in Japan. Like, transgender is just a made up, like, you cannot play pretend. Men are men, women are women. You can be an effeminate man. You can be a masculine woman. That doesn't change your sex, though. What are you seeing over there? Is this just something that's like online, or is this a real thing? Because I know I've seen a zillion times this kid, Desmond's amazing. And it's just like, oh, the drag kids. It's just the same kid over and over again. There's no epidemic of drag kids all over the country. It's like 5 or 6 weirdos, all of them probably in California. But the LGBTQRS -7 square root of 10, that does seem to have penetrated everywhere. Is it in the Outer Banks?
Man, it's everywhere. If it's happening here, it's happening everywhere.
That's what I was like. If it's there, it's got to be everywhere.
It's probably 1 out of 20 kids is a cat, or
what,
whatever.
What age?
They had a big thing at the high school here where the students got upset because they weren't allowed to wear hats, like baseball hats or whatever. But yet they were allowed to wear dog ears and cat ears and tails and collars and whatever, because you can't say anything. Everybody's afraid to be accused of being whatever phobic that is for keep the cat people. Like I asked them, like, well, how come is it like 3 kids or what? They're like, no, it's like 1 out of 20. And they're right, because I went to the schools and to talk to them about archaeology and career and all that, and the whole school came for several schools that I went to, and it was about 1 out of 20 kids was.
They have like a section there that would meow.
Yeah, they're
holy crap,
it's weird, man. And it does seem to be the disenfranchised kids, like the less popular one, whatever. I don't know how it happens, like, other than just pressure and from the social media and kids just wanting to fit in somewhere. It's like
Oh,
a
you know
really
how it
way
happens.
to be left
It's
alone because no one can pick on you or say anything without the harshest of penalties
right. You've
if
got
you're in.
the ultimate privilege if you become a furry or whatever, because no one can say anything or they're kicked out of
Right.
school for it.
Exactly.
But they buy it. It's still quite the sacrifice to say, yeah, I'm a cat or whatever. But
I don't know. Maybe they had some Fruit Loops, and you got that leftover milk where you've already eaten all the cereal out of it, that good rainbowy, yummy milk, and they're just like, I want to be a cat. I don't know. I don't know I don't know how it happens, but it is just kind of the ultimate, like, you can't pick on me at all, anyone. You can't even tell me that I'm not a cat or can't wear these ears or tail or whatever. And the teachers are afraid to
you
say
have to.
anything.
It's power because you have to go along with my delusion.
Right.
But the ones that are delusional, that are like not just using it, but believe it, they believe it because of brainwashing. It's the same way every sorority sister believes in astrology and horoscopes because there's nothing between their ears. They live in delusion land their whole life. For real. Like, they're like, what's your sign? Like, if someone asks my sign, I just turn around like, no, next.
Yeah,
that's
it really
something else we
it's the
don't have
same
here. They're
type
like,
of.
what is that?
I pointed
Right.
out once, it's the same type of ignorance that causes racism. It's like, so you're saying that because the month that I'm born in, that is going to predetermine my personality. Would you say that someone's skin color predetermines their personality and how they're going to act? No, you wouldn't,
No, but your
because
birthday
that's
does.
really
Yeah, yeah.
ignorant. But what if they're born in this month? Then they're an asshole or a liar. Like, and if you really believe that, you're dumb as fuck. One, but also, that's not even worth talking about.
I think that's even
Like,
dumber than racism. At least racism has some pseudoscientific, like genetic argument of things that exist. The star alignment and all is even dumber, I think. Like, I can understand someone being racist 400 years ago or something,
you're
but
outgoing because you were born in whatever. That's just
you're
dumb.
born in when Mercury was in retrograde of I like how I think it's Sagittarius. Their governing planet was Pluto, which is no longer a planet; it's a dwarf planet. So like that must have screwed it up, but whatever.
But they'll see the world that way and bend it to fit that reality.
Well, they
Like,
live in La La Land, and this is the kind of thing, and it's a lot of girls.
but that's the
Let's be
same thing
honest.
with racism. Like, people that are raised racist will bend the world to see and
Right.
hate whoever. It's the same kind of ignorance.
You'll see the opposite too, where someone's racist.
If you explain somebody's really into astrology that way, they back off a little bit.
You ever met someone that's racist, but they get along with this black person, this Hispanic person, this whatever? And it's like, well, he's one of the good ones. For every single person's one of the good ones. Whatever. Like, one of the good ones is such a backhanded whatever. But yeah, it is from that same sort of mentality most of the time. But people are racist for different reasons. Like, it's weird because I have met people who are otherwise intelligent who believe some really stupid stuff. Like, you could argue that maybe like with religion, like it's retarded, but there are very intelligent people sometimes that are religious, and a religious person might say the opposite. They might think atheism is retarded, but they still have to admit there's some very intelligent atheists, right? So it's a psychological thing more than an intelligence thing. But the lower your intelligence is, the more the higher the odds are you're going to have a psych problem too. Anyway, so 1 out of 20 kids are cat people or whatever. Is that a thing too? That the animals cross over?
They're either I'm not Jenny anymore, I'm Josh or whatever. They're either whatever.
Are there more boys pretending to be girls or girls pretending to be boys?
I would say girls pretending to be boys slightly.
There's more girls pretending to be boys. See, I would have thought the opposite, because all the attention's on I guess because guys pretending to be girls are messing up female athletics and doing things that harm people. I didn't see that.
Well, it's just because we live in North Carolina and you probably still get beat up for that no matter what. But there's definitely more girls being animals than guys. Like, the furry thing is definitely more girls. And a lot of them wear masks still because it's like a security thing. You know, they don't. They're introverts mostly.
So what do they dress up like a mascot, or they just do the tail and the ears? We have that in Japan, like cosplay, but they don't really.
A girl
think
that
they're
was
a cat.
Her name was Cricket, and she was a cricket. You know.
Okay. I don't know what to say. They've lost their mind. And teachers and all, no one's allowed to say you're a child, act like it. You know, this isn't fantasy land.
You can't do it, man. Because
so when are they going to get rid of Cooper?
As soon as they quit rigging it, man. I mean, I've never met anybody that liked that guy, and he wins.
So you agree with me that it was rigged? Can you say from the ground there? Did you guys have voter ID?
No, it was horrible. All right, so I did get to vote. Right, I went in, voted, whatever. But there's people that live on my road, several that didn't, and the same thing in Manio, a neighboring town, because they went in to vote and they were told you already voted. I said, no, I haven't voted. I just got here. You know, I haven't voted. And they're like, well, yes, you have, because all anyone needed to do, since there's no ID and people were wearing masks and all that too, they could come in and say, I'm this person. And they're like, okay, well, what's your address? And if they knew their address and could tell it to them, they're like, all right, vote. Right. Yeah. If in a small town,
or they don't even have to come in. They just mail in a vote with your return address. Done. You could go down the street, copying addresses, and then just mail them in, and all those people voted.
People were getting really, really mad. You know, both when I went to vote in the primaries and the election for president, people were mad and they were getting like, I have not voted, blah, blah, blah. And somebody else must have told blah, blah. And I, sorry, nothing I can do. And it was happening all night long. And people were like, why don't we have voter ID?
Because there's no media on this, even after the fact, to say that this happened and get people to talk about it?
Nope. But, you know, all people had to do was go in there and say, I'm, you know, Charles Johnson or whatever. I live at 621 of, you know, Eckner Street or whatever. If you knew someone's name and address, which is easy to do,
phone book,
especially if you plan on reading voter, to go learn, you know, and vote a whole bunch of times, especially with the mask and everything. But different mask on.
I think that's what happened a lot of places. You don't have to physically go in and vote. Like, people went to go vote, got turned around, said, no, you already voted. Then here come the mail-in votes at midnight, and they're all voting for Biden because they just went around, gathered addresses, and sent them in through the mail. And that's why a lot of people think they're going to manufacture a new, you know, COVID hysteria for the new variant. And a lot of blue states will be like, oh, you got to have mail-in votes to stay at home because the new variant, or maybe the monkeypox or the chicken dick or whatever, you got to stay home, and they're going to mail in votes and cheat and steal another one. Well, we have a Shekelchat from oh yeah, he got like 1 million votes in Pennsylvania consecutively, and the Libertarian candidate got 0. And she should have been pulling in 1 or 2%, or at least 0.5%. 0. Nobody mailed in.
They didn't even try to make the lie like look convincing.
Mm-mm. And they had QAnon run in with the like bogus counter narrative, kookifying any conversation about election fraud. And then January 6th physically disrupted the legitimate dual state legislators that have been sent and all that. They ruined it. We have $1. Someone sent in $1 to say, I saw a family just yesterday walking on the waterfront in Philly. Son had rolled up jean shorts up to his crotch with woman's shoes. He seemed like an outcast and maybe a future gay. It is the city of brotherly love, though. Well, you know, I think if you're gay, that's different than pretending to be a girl. You know what I mean? Be gay. You're in Philadelphia anyway. But
Yes.
that's
Right.
very different than becoming a girl and going into girls' sports and girls' prisons and you can't do that because you're not really a woman. Just be gay. Embrace your Yankee heritage.
I'm even more tolerant than that. It's like, obviously I don't give a shit if somebody's gay at all. Whatever. That's like having green eyes. It's like, it's not relevant. I don't care if a dude pretends to be a girl. I just don't think that I should have to pretend that he's a girl. Any more than if he pretended to be a cat or a lizard or whatever. Fine. But don't expect me to.
I don't think that's fine because they're not pretending. They are full on believing they are a girl. That's a mental disorder. Pretend is different than faith.
They are pretending.
Like, I hope so, but I don't know if all of them are pretending or some of them really think it or what. But I don't encourage. I don't encourage playing into these kind of fantasies. I get it if you're 4 years old or whatever and you want to pretend to be a superhero or something, but not adults. Just not going to do that. And I don't like this like enabling of these fantasies. You're right. I mean, if they can pretend all they want, as long as they know they are pretending, but you reinforce the delusion when you get other people to go along and go, oh yeah, you're a sea otter or whatever. And I also didn't know it was that bad. I knew they were pretending to be different genders. I figured that transracialism was coming, but transspeciesism, I didn't know it had hit so fast. But why not? We live in clown world.
I mean,
I wonder if there's any rivalry between like the cats and the dogs and the foxes.
It's the ultimate protection. No one can pick up.
Just self-identify as a prince or something.
I don't know, man.
Just wait till they start taking celebrity identities.
The world is a rich tapestry, man.
On fire, baby.
Yeah, it's gonna be very, 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 very difficult for a lot of these kids in about 5 years when they're out of school and in the world, and they go to apply for a job with,
what they majored in, handicapped, trans, lesbian, wheelchair bound dinosaurs. So that surely will help them in the real world. Right?
Or just when you're sitting across with dog ears on and they ask you your skill set and you go, arr, arr, arr. I mean, good luck. Good luck with that. Good luck.
Waiting for the unicorns. Ken Kaczynski was right. Read Industrial Society and its future, because enjoy the decline. They are nosediving faster than an F-35 driven by a woman. If you don't know the story, the first female pilot crashed an F-35 into a carrier and did like tens of millions of dollars in damage. It's not her fault, though. The F-35 is basically a Bradley fighting vehicle with wings. First aircraft to be able to land upside down. I don't know, that Osprey 22 is pretty bad, too. So is the F-22 Raptor.
The helicopter, yeah.
Oh, it's like a hybrid.
For people.
Yeah. $1.5 trillion on the F-35. Thing is more useless than, $1.5 trillion.
On a flat-chested mermaid.
Yep, it's useless as a flat-chested mermaid.
With sharp teeth.
Yeah, I mean, the bad news has been passed around more than a cucumber in a woman's prison. But, they bury it, man. They bury the stories on it deeper than Lindsey Graham is in the closet. It's pretty far down there.
Yeah.
Lindsey Graham. Dude, Eric Jackman. Actually, both of them can do a pretty good Lindsey Graham impression. 4 Horsemen, by the way. Jeremy Kaufman, Make the Bombs Gayer. That'll be on the 24th. Clint is going to be on this show in about 15 minutes. We're going to be talking about ESGs. But I had my brother on to shoot this shit and basically promote his Substack. So we'll get that in
Yeah,
there.
it's most pirates right now. Because I'm doing 4 1-hour shows with Discovery Warner Brothers on
When
pirates.
do those start?
They
Discovery Warner Brothers show
now, so who knows? Probably in the spring before they start actually.
Oh, like you're filming and stuff. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, all of the. It takes forever. My part's pretty easy.
Which pirates are you covering?
For sure, Blackbeard, but also Stead Bonnet, Charles Vane, the Golden Age guys. Andrew.
Charles Vane will be interesting. Charles Vane will be interesting. I think a lot of people sadly don't know who the hell that is.
They don't, and unless they've seen Black Sails, maybe, and then they only know fiction idea, but at least they've heard his name.
You gonna cover Hornigold?
Yeah, you kind of have to. With Blackbeard, that kind of you have to. Henry Jennings, all the Golden Age guys, kind of stopping just short of Black Bart and kind of after.
Kind of the first Republic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Before the revolution, before the secession.
Yeah.
Called the Revolutionary War, there was a republic in the Caribbean.
Briefly. Had their own pirate code.
Run by anarchists.
System of laws. They weren't anarchists. So that was the propaganda of the crown. Like there was law and order there. And they were legitimately angry at England because they just fought Queen Anne's War for England. All of these guys are former privateers, basically. And
isn't it sad how full circle it came? Right? You had this rebellion, this like Pirates Republic in the Caribbean, and now English princes go there to fiddle kids, like Prince Andrew.
Well, they were upset because, as Blackbeard put it, they put a Wiener Schnitzel sucking German on the throne with George, and that didn't sit well with Charles Vane or a lot of them. So they actually not only formed their own republic and open rebellion, but they had plans to sack Bermuda, which they probably could have carried. They wouldn't have been able to hold it. I mean, there's no way Nassau and a handful of pirates are going to take on the British Empire. But
it's interesting too because the governor of Bermuda was a Hamilton, who is related to the Dawsons from Ireland. He was lieutenant governor, then the governor.
Virginia were Hamilton. Mm-hmm. The Archibald Hamilton of Jamaica was on Charles Vane and those guys' side.
Actually, no, it would have been after. It was during the War of 1812. He wasn't governor yet until after that. Jefferson put him in jail. Washington released him. So it wasn't him yet. Anyway.
But yeah, Jamaica had a Hamilton that he was a Jacobite like Vane and Blackbeard, and he actually sponsored Henry Jennings to go hit the Spanish wrecks.
This is no relation to Alexander Hamilton, by the way, who also comes from the Caribbean. You may know him better as Satan. No. Yeah.
Yeah. The guy that started the Federal Reserve really under a different name, but Hamilton
basically. Well, he was getting Rothschild money too. Federal Reserve was not created in Jekyll Island, folks. It was not the Aldrich Bill. I know that's what you saw in the movie online, but Riggs Bank created the all of that way before Aldrich. Traditional spooks for laundering money. Oh yes, yeah. That was even prior to World War II, before the OSS, before the CIA. It was the Riggs boys. And if you look at Riggs, it's very similar to the Jekyll Island crew, but they were a front. So there's a layer behind the layer. And leave it to me to take one of the greatest conspiracies and expand it. But I'm just telling you the truth. Check it out. RIGGS. It's now under a different name, still in DC. And Riggs was used for laundering. They went back to Riggs after BCCI fell apart in the 90s. They went right back to their traditional Riggs and launder money to 9/11 hijackers. And that's something that Adams Fitzgerald and myself, maybe Nelson Martin, I don't know, will be talking about whenever I can organize it. it's hard with the time zones and stuff. But we did one part already on kind of the pre 9/11 stuff in the 90s. We're going to do the Hamburg cell next, and then we'll work our way up to everything I was just saying. So we're all going to, it's 9/11 truth for grown-ups, we're calling it.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. It's like you have to have election fraud for grown-ups. No, they did not get in a shootout in a server farm in Germany. QAnon ruined that whole thing, man. And a lot of those, like Buffalo Shaman, that guy that was high as hell on mushrooms that went in dressed with horns on his head and stuff. He was a Q shaman, self-professed, you know, believed all, trust the plan. Trump's really secretly the president, all that crap. I think we do have a secret president, though. I don't think Biden knows where he is. I really don't. And I think like Kamala, Obama, Pelosi, somebody behind the scenes is running the whole thing, and they're running it right off a cliff. Hell, we've fallen off the cliff already.
Is there anyone out there that's like loves Biden?
No.
I know people hate Trump, but is there anyone?
Zelensky, Kolomoisky, maybe? I don't know.
Whatever happened to Maxwell, man? Where's her list of clients?
It's on my wall.
Right. When are they going to get it from her?
Well, yeah, she's not going to do that. But I mean, what they ought to be doing is go and knock on the door of Glenn Dubin and Les Wexner. I mean, that they've got all the lists. So does Leon Black. After Wexner, the second biggest open financer was Leon Black. He's the head of Global Apollo, though. I mean, these people are untouchable. These are the super billionaires. And this actually relates to what Clint and I are about to talk about, because a lot of these, a lot of the investment management firms like BlackRock and Vanguard, people like Larry Fink, manage the money into these ESGs. And a lot of the people on that map are involved in this gambit too of the green cultists.
It's hard to criticize an environmental group, you know.
Yes, cheap plug, the separation of business and state, right? They're always doing something with a do-gooder theme, whether it's healthcare, the environment, defense, whatever. Like, oh, these are all good things, but it's just profiteering under different themes. But if you criticize it, it's like, oh, well, you don't like health, you want to club baby seals, you hate the environment, you're in with big oil, aren't you? You're no, I'm not for solar panels because they don't work. That's why.
Well, it's fine for like a calculator.
That's a solar cell. We got another Shekel chat for $1. It says transracialism has been around for a while. Remember Malibu's Most Wanted, and I won't say the word. Begins with W and rhymes with chiggers. No, I don't remember that, but I think transracialism has kind of been around with like the Elizabeth Warren types and the head of the NAACP and that guy that actually wore blackface.
Somebody threw gasoline on that fire, though, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that this stuff is 100% new right now. I'm just saying it's 30,000 times more prevalent than it was 20 years ago. That's what I'm saying.
Right. And before, someone might claim that and just lie, but everyone's like, no, you're not. They wouldn't go along with it. Now you're forced to go along with it. That's a big difference. There are shekels on entropy, I heard. Bam. Ooh, hell yes. Dude, this is so cool. $49.99. So not a Ulysses Grant. 2 Jacksons, 4 Jeffersons, and a Washington. And then 99 cents says, welcome, Scott, and happy early birthday to you. Are you working on any new crime or murder books like Red Rodanthe? Sorry, can't help myself. Glad you're on Substack. Time to get on the computer. There you go. Hey, it's my birthday too, by the way, but no problem. You can wish him a happy birthday. Buddy. That's fine. You know who else's birthday it is? Kate Beckinsale. Bless the goddess. Yeah. Okay. Do you have any, are you working on any new crime or murder books?
Well, I'm helping Justin Hawkins with getting Red Rodanthe into a screenplay, and he's got, I think, 40 something pages done so far, but the beginning's the hardest part, figuring all that out. So helping him with that. And
I also want to see that one. Did a little help too.
You like it? I think
I
it's
did. Like Justin's good, and he's already made films before, so this isn't some aspiring Hollywood hurry up and wait guy. Like I've met him many times. He's a good friend of mine for a long time, but it's not
it's
nepotism.
not my
Like he
first
just
book either. So
right, and so yeah, of course, and I don't think Scott. He said last time, so I can already answer this, but he's not writing a book for another like half a year or something because he's got these television shows to do on the Pirates. He just wrote a bunch of books, and so the main thing is trying to get Red Rodanthe into a film, and I think it would be a great
right,
film, right? Show a
yeah,
lot,
and I'm
showcase
still
the island.
pushing the pirate book too because it just came out a few weeks ago, and gotta get it on its own 2 legs, and then I can
Dark
leave
Water.
it alone. Dark
That's
Water
right.
is the
Well,
true story of Blackbeard.
all of that will be on Odysee. All right, dude. Sorry, I got to kick you off and add another dude. So I'm gonna bring in
All
Clint
right,
from
man.
Liberty Lockdown just a second. I will see you soon.
Okay.
You can just let me see. I guess I exit you.
Hey, real fast on the
Oh,
26th of July is also when Fidel had that big shootout
well, yeah,
in
that's
Cuba.
they wear the July 26 bands on their arms. That's right. Let me get Clint. Boom.
And Mick
All right,
Jagger's
then.
birthday. All right, see ya.
It is Mick Jagger's birthday.
And the
the
dude
great
from
Kate Beck.
Clockwork Orange.
Oh, really? I did not know that. All right, he's gone. I sent the link to Clint. It'll take him a second to get in here. I assume. It's on his Skype. Oh, there he is. Thanks, man. Give me 5. All right, cool. 5. I can easily talk for 5 minutes. Scott Dawson, Substack. I should have had the link on hand. It's just Scott Davis Dawson at substack.com or .substack.com. Oh, there's a link right there from comment channel has already found it. And P1 Dizzy's found it. So right. Happy birthday, Scott Dawson. That's my limit for today, for the day. Well, I'll make sure he gets hold of that and sees that. And then the Clint's coming on soon. 17 there, 49 on the other one. Yeah, we got a birthday coming up. It'll be my birthday first because I'm a day ahead in Japan. So, and I am the eldest of the twins by a few minutes anyway. So I guess whatever. But I will be in North Carolina in August with my oldest son. So if you're in the area, maybe we can do a live Dawson and Dawson show if there's time. We'll see. I think that would be fun. Well, I don't think we could do live, but we could film it like in person at least, and then put the recording online. You heard how bad his microphone was. I think if we were both in that situation, it'd probably suck, but is what it is. Clint's going to be with us in a second talking about ESGs. I'm wearing glasses because I have a pussy, putrid, disgusting eyeball that I could not take care of until I got a health card finally, which I couldn't get until I got a visa, yada, yada, yada. It's burning up in here. What the hell's going on with this thing? I can't see with these glasses either. It's too damn dark. I'm going to use my good eye. Sorry, guys. I'm burning up in here. It's like there's a heat wave, don't you know? Because it's been a whopping 37 for like 2 days, which is nothing in most places. Come on. There we go. Got it. My right eye, I always look like I have black eyes anyway, like someone hit me in the face or something. It's from the lack of sleep. But Clint will be here soon. I want to mail Rye a gift. What address do I send it to? I would send that to the North Carolina address because I can go pick it up in August. And you really don't want to mail anything to Japan. It costs too much and it probably will not arrive. But I will give you the ad. I'm typing the address into Odysee right now. I can't freaking see. There it is. I'm going to do that again because someone commented in the middle of it. So I'll try that again. It is P.O. Box 1454. Buxton. NC 27920. That is the address. And Ryan Dawson on the top. If you want to send something, you can. I will get that mail when I arrive in August. So I guess you can't do shift enter on Odysee. So that is what it is. Clint will be here in about 3 minutes. Yeah, they used to beta test these things on Indian reservations, the ESGs, this whole gambit. It's an unassailable farce because if you oppose what they're doing, they're like, oh, you just hate the earth and want the ice caps to melt and blah. You hate animals. And no, these techs don't work. Like if you get an electric car, where's electricity come from? Still coming from coal. But a liberal cannot maintain more than 2 data points at a time. Like, well, I plugged the car into the building. Like, okay, where's the building get the electricity? It gets it from the power plant. And where did it get it? Fossil fuels. You're still burning fossil fuels and running up the power grid at the same time. Been better just to get gasoline. Because if you overstretch the grid, then you have brownouts and blackouts. Am I the tech person? I'm the tech person every day. Every stream I do, I'm the only one here. Varg is in Norway. It's like 7-hour difference. So when we do stuff at night on Telegram and all that, that's Varg. And WordPress stuff, he'll come in and help me with it. But every time shit's not working in the morning, it's because I'm the only one here. I'm in the chair, and I'm in a chair that Clint bought for me. It's not a chair, really. It's like this thing for your back, whatever. By the way, the shirt I'm wearing today, The Naturalist Capitalist. You may know Reed Coverdale, Clinton's lover. They survived a car wreck together. He gave me this in Texas, and I gave him A&C trucker hat. It's a good shirt. It's got the kind of Caterpillar ripoff with the logo, and I think Top Lobster, they sell them there. And Reed also has a Substack, Reed Coverdale Substack. So do the Jackmans. I have to make a Substack ring, I guess. And they they'll have links to all the Naturalist Capitalist gear over there. There's one of our 4 Horsemen faces that ripped off an image from the Queen cover. They love to copy left, I guess. And that's a pretty cool shirt. I'm going to have to get one of those myself. Reed Coverdale Substack, Scott Dawson Substack. And then Eric and Mike Jackman have a Substack. Some good articles on there. I'm encouraging Fitzgerald to do a Substack. He posts these things on VK and stuff. I'm hoping he can get in there. Whoa, we just had a 109 from Willie Wallace. Says, happy birthday, boys. Glad to catch a live stream. And P. Dizzy just said, read and put, okay, there's a link to his YouTube channel at least. He just put the trailer to NUMEC up on his channel. William Wallace. It's got a picture of William Wallace. His name was Willie Wallace with the 109. Very special number there. 109, which is also a prime. I've asked my middle kid if that's correct. It should be. Yeah, 109 is a prime. 110. Do I hear 111? All the links are the same. Yeah. The Piper Kennedy. Okay, the Piper Kennedy interview was linked to Kling and it's FooBar. So there is a PeerTube backup. I will fix that. Somebody remind me to put up the Piper interview in the on A&C report. Replace that. See, the thing is, we got kicked off Kling, we got kicked off Vimeo, we got kicked off YouTube. Every time we put something somewhere new, then they got kicked off Patreon too, and that had MP3. So, 4 different times, and then we had Raina's YouTube, and they got kicked off of that one as well, and then it kicked off a secret one. So 7 different times we had to go in and change all the links on A&C report. So yeah, there's a lot of shit that's dead links or missing or whatever. That is a great interview though. Michael Collins Piper and I talked. Oh, here's Clint. He's waiting. Sorry, I'm gonna shut up and get him. Sorry, I was shooting the shit while you're gone and not looking at the screen.
Oh, no worries.
Oh, there it is. Both wearing red hats today. I was gonna do that.
Gotta represent the South or something. I don't know what we're doing here.
I've been doing yellow, and I don't know. I just switched colors because I sell them all, and I am a capitalist. That's why I'm also wearing the Natural Capitalist T-shirt today.
Oh, hell yeah, dude!
There you go.
You are a naturalist,
Mr. Reed, right? Your lover. You survived a car accident together.
I was actually in the car behind him when he almost lost his leg. It was insane.
You were behind him? What?
Yeah, I mean that's where I'm normally at.
Yeah, pants on or off. Yeah, okay, that's good.
A little bit of both, if you know what I mean.
That was wild. You're like, we shouldn't be alive right now. I'm like, well, that's a hell of a way to start a video.
I know, dude. It was serious though, and he was still like kind of in a state of shock. I don't think he understood how serious it was. Like he got 270'd in the air in his truck, and like had he not had his seatbelt on, I think his door, which was caved in.
A truck. I guess he wasn't hauling anything.
No, he was in a little Toyota.
Oh, that kind of truck, not his.
Yeah.
Okay. Still, Toyota survived.
Not that one.
Not that one, but well, enough that he lived. So.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, it kept him alive.
270 in the air. That's impressive. That's how many points is that on GTA? What the hell happened? Did he get hit by a tractor trailer or something? Or like Megan McCain was in the seat? How did
I think it was an Escalade or an Excursion. It was a big ass SUV, but it just hit him like perfect. I mean, it wasn't like fully in the air. It was like his front left tire pinned down, and then he just went like, woo.
He ballerinaed in that sucker.
Yeah, basically. Pirouette.
That's what that's called. You would know. Yeah. Spinning around.
I'm a cultured homosexual.
That's right. Well, you know, it's one of them Yankee words.
Just don't tell my girlfriend.
Yeah, girlfriend. Well, yeah, she's combing her mustache. You dropped the bomb on ESGs on I think it was Four Horsemen or Liberty Lockdown. I was on a show with you, and you were talking about it. And I know you've been digging into this for about a year or so. It's finally getting some real news. Tucker Carlson talked about it yesterday, this environmental social governance. I've been explaining it on Telegram, but I'll let you do it. Explain to people what an ESG is and why so many people are taking this short shit investments.
Well, ESG is environmental, social, and governance. Environmental being fairly obvious. It's about helping the environment. I mean, I'm going to frame it how they frame it. Then we'll talk about
what they claim. Exactly.
Yes. So E is environmental. So that's trying to reduce pollution, things like that. S is social, which really represents social justice. So it's about how woke your business is, how you're treating sexual assault cases, things like that. Do you fire people? Do you
have an equity advisor?
Yeah, that too. How strong is your HR department? Blah, blah, blah. And then G is governance. And that is normally like
how to waste money.
Oh, it's really hiring quotas. Like they want to know, they want to make sure that your board is, equitable, diverse. So that's
make sure nothing works. Yeah. So I was going to guess either make sure nothing works or how to waste money, because that's what governance is. But yeah.
Well, in fairness, all three of the letters actually stand for total waste and non-innovation. Right. So, but it was started in 2004. Really, it started in 2004 under the United Nations, the UN. Kofi Annan was the Secretary General of the UN at the time, and he sends out this letter to the 50 biggest businesses on the planet, and he says, "Hey, I'd like to implement." He doesn't call it ESG at the time. They come up with that terminology shortly thereafter with some.
It was like green.
Yeah, it was I forget, like Green Initiative or something like that.
Echo or something like that.
Yeah. So he sends out this letter, and what do you know? The biggest money managers on earth, Goldman Sachs and Deutsche Bank and JP Morgan, they all respond in the affirmative. That sounds great. Yeah, of course. We want to sacrifice profits and shift from shareholder value to stakeholder value, which if you're not paying attention, it sounds like the same thing, but it's tremendously different.
Oh no, that's very different. Like, oh, did you say subsidies? What? Oh.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's really, you nailed it already. That's exactly why they signed on, is like, well, if the United Nations is going to be on board, they know that almost every government, any first world government that's involved with the UN is going to be on board. So they heard it right away. They're like, oh, gravy train, back the truck up. And that's what it was. And it really didn't take, it didn't catch fire until after the 08-09 collapse. I think the real estate collapse in particular in America, which created.
I'm glad you used that phrase, gravy train, because that is Lincoln and the railroads. That's what that is. Lincoln subsidized the railroads. They got all these investments in the railroads because, hey, the government's paying for it, right?
No shit.
And that is the real gravy train. It's the trains. Because the steel foundries and all these industries that relate to railroads also benefit from this. I've talked about this before in my first book, Welcome to the USSA. The chapter on environment there talks about how farm subsidies are indirect subsidies for big pharma, because 75% of antibiotics in the US go to animals on ranches, not people. And why do they even need those antibiotics? Because the horrible conditions in factory farms make it necessary to have the antibiotics, but you have to have so many per animal per acre, whatever, to get the largest amount of subsidy. So it causes these conditions that otherwise wouldn't exist, which causes a demand for the antibiotics and the steroids and the pesticides and all these chemical things that go to Dow and Searle and so on that are dependent. Now, they're not subsidized, but they are subsidized through the farm subsidy, because you can't, they don't have good PR. Nobody cares about Dow, right? But farmers, everyone loves farmers, right? And these giant agribusiness, right. They, just like the ethanol cult, the reason why they landed on that is because you can't touch corn. And the reason is, you look at a map of the United States, the bulk of the senators, everyone gets 2, right? Well, they're all out Midwest, and they're all tied to farm and ranch subsidies. And the corn syrups and everything, because it's subsidized. And corn's going to become ethanol. We're going to use that, to replace gasoline, whatever, even though it takes more energy than what you get out of it, because it doesn't matter if it works or not. It just matters, like, this is a giant voting block, and we want to keep these subsidies because it is a gravy train, just like Lincoln's Railroad. So, but it's way worse than that now, because now it's international, and it's about climate change or any other. And I ain't saying the Earth isn't getting warmer, but it is not going to disappear in 12 years. They're not melting the ice caps, all this stuff. Why would anybody buy coastal property if that was the case?
Why would the politicians that are espousing this most vocally be the ones that are buying the big mansions on the ocean?
Also, if the ice melted, the water level would lower, not raise, because it's a crystal and it takes up more space than liquid water does. But anyway, they're not. It's not happening. They'll do stuff. Well, what about Al Gore? He took a picture of Kilimanjaro in the summer and one in the winter, and go, look at all the snow that's missing.
It's so infuriating, man.
CGI of Day After Tomorrow was the opening credits of was Inconvenient Truth.
I know.
You put truth in the title and did nothing but lie to people. And again, every time you lie and exaggerate something, like a certain historical event, you're discrediting it, and you don't need to. There's evidence. You don't have to add all this weird stuff to it and scaremongering, Chicken Little, whatever. But the reason they're really doing that is to push the public into accepting the austerity that they're going to have when you turn off nuclear power plants, get rid of drilling rights, close down pipelines, especially the Germans right now, and blame it on Ukraine, whatever. This was all happening before that war. So was the inflation. So were the shortages, partly because of the spending on COVID, but the rest of it's been ESGs. And ESG has always been able to blame some other thing. But clearly this is what it is. Why is gas so high? Because you got rid of drilling, you got rid of pipelines, you overregulated the industries that already did exist, and you subsidized green tech. And then Clint, explain to people what a BlackRock or Vanguard is, because people think they just own everything. They're the middleman for Apple, Google, and so on.
That's a terrible misconception, because they have so many trillions under management. A lot of people think Larry Fink actually has $10 trillion. No, Larry Fink has our pension. He has our pension funds. He has our 401ks, our IRAs, whatever vehicle we're investing in the ETFs for BlackRock. So ETF just being an exchange traded fund, it can have a litany of different stock holdings in it, none of which does Larry Fink actually own, except for, he probably owns some shares of BlackRock.
He gets paid to be the middleman. I mean, he gets paid.
Yeah. They get 15 paid. Yeah. They get 15 basis points on every dollar that they manage, which is just 0.15%. So it's not extraordinary fees, but when you compare that,
it's like 15% higher than our interest rates at a savings account.
yeah, well, that's true. But compared to like a Vanguard ETF, which only charges 0.02, or 0.03, like you're paying 5x to have these ESG level funds, 5x in terms of the fees that you're paying. And if you actually look at the holdings within them, it's a carbon copy, man. It's almost the exact same thing. And if you look at the return on investment, you're actually losing money by investing in ESG. So you're paying a higher fee and you're losing money. So I think that fortunately, because it has created a bubble, because all the whole reason that the ESG funds outperformed the market for the past 10 or 12 years is because everybody else was doing it. And if you know anything about technical analysis when it comes to stock trades, people just follow trends. So they knew that this was the new game in town. And
right.
And when you have a new game,
get in and out at the right time.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just
and
wrote about that.
most
Like
people won't.
the growth is not based on earnings; it's based on new investment. And there's new investment because they know it's subsidized, or by law you're forced to do it. And alternatives, the law is going to say, no, you can't build that, you can't do that. So you're forced to do these, whether they work or not. But the return's not going to be there because they do not work. And this winter, I mean, I think you're going to see a sea change in politicians. Italy, Germany, a lot of places in Europe, maybe even the US. A lot of people don't think Biden can physically make it that long. Yeah. And that'll be the end of ESG. It's going to be a massive bubble. There's going to be a lot of suffering from the damage they've already done. And by the way, you can use economic jargon on this show. My audience is pretty nerdy. So, perfect. If they're lost, whatever. We did have a Shekelchat for 218. It says 109 times 2. Damn twins. Happy birthday. Boom. Hey, thank you very much. I'm rubbing my hands. I love the shekels. It's a great birthday gift.
I'm just going to spend it.
No, but it's in like 4 days.
Oh, well, happy
and
almost
my brother's birthday's in 5 days, and we're twins.
My birthday's August 4th, so I'm not far behind you.
Oh, cool. We're all Leos. There you go. Yep. Scott Ritter's birthday was last week, and who else had one? Kate Beckinsale's coming up too.
I just had Judge Knapp on my show today, and he had Scott Ritter on this morning. So,
Judge, I think the Judge has one coming up too, and he and Phil Giraldi and Scott Ritter and all, they're going to New York this Saturday. I'm just going to plug their event to do, what is it? Something Garden. The poster's on my Telegram. But if you're around that area, you should definitely go see that. It's always great to hear Scott Ritter speak, or Phil Giraldi, or Judge Napolitano. And there's another speaker too. It was somebody, Chad. I don't have it on the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't actually know about that event, but can I break down the 0809 where it like picks up steam?
Yes, let's oh hell yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So there's no firm evidence. Like I can't prove this because I don't have any documents that actually go, okay, they sat down during the real estate collapse and they concluded, wait a second, we can actually do this way. But if you look at the timing and the uptick in ESG's popularity, and it coincides so perfectly with this leftist populist rebellion that's occurring at the time, where you have Occupy Wall Street, you have people demanding bankers' heads, you have people rolling out guillotines. It's looking pretty dire for a minute there, and then all of a sudden they go, hey, we're not your enemy. We're focused on alleviating all of the issues that you care most about, and that's the environment, that's social justice, that's making sure that we have representation in our boards, blah 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 blah. And it's all lip service. It doesn't amount to anything in reality, but what it does is it really does subdue the populist leftist kind of Marxist rebellion that seems to be arising at that time. So I think that the coincidence is strong enough that it's hard for me not to say that probably played a factor, on top of what you've already pointed out of the gravy train, where they're like, okay, there's massive subsidies involved in any green technology, so it just makes sense to get in on that racket. I think those two things coinciding really line up perfectly to explain why it becomes so popular. And once you get Larry Fink on board, who's the CEO, or the top of BlackRock, I think he's the CEO. I think that's his position.
He is.
As soon as he gets on board, and they're managing $10 trillion, and he sends out his own personal open letter to every CEO on the planet every year, in which he says, this is what I want to see in your business operations if you expect to see a penny of BlackRock's managed funds. And that is a huge incentive. I mean, so you have the carrot and the stick. You have the carrot of, hey, if you do this, you'll get the funding. The stick is, if you don't do this, we'll rip your funding, and the woke leftist mobs will come for your business. Those two things combined is a very powerful motivator. So even the CEOs that are like based in red pilled like us, which I'm sure there's a handful of them out there, they're saying to themselves, "Fuck
My
this, I
Pillow
ain't
guy."
taking." Yeah, what's that?
The My Pillow guy.
Yeah, well, right.
Yeah.
And look what they've done to his ass. So, I mean, this is really why it's happened, and this is why there's so little pushback. Is it's a full court press, man. It's very hard to beat it.
Did you notice they hit media first, like Disney? Look how woke Disney is. Because Disney's the second biggest media conglomerate. I mean, they own ABC and movies, sitcoms. That's all part of the propaganda too. They went after Disney hard.
Yep.
And with this woke nonsense. But to
And,
me,
and
this
they,
woke nonsense.
And they bent the knee.
Yep. Of course they did.
Yeah.
Part of it is not just the sexual identity. It's the green cult, going after using these people. In Europe, they have the hell they call them, we call them end earthers. They call it Extinction Rebellion. That's people glue themselves to the road and stuff like that.
Crazy.
PETA's killed more dogs than Michael Vick.
That's for sure true.
They euthanize all these dogs in Virginia, but it's a theme. Like they collect money because they do stunts where they dress up like animals and run in front of tractors or whatever. It's like it's all just a gambit to gather money. The Audubon Society doesn't care about birds or anything. That
Black Lives Matter. Black Lives
manipulate real estate prices and things like that, and that coincided with COVID. So what you were saying, the dovetail of the kind of green cult taking off right after the too big to fail real estate bubble.
Right.
What they do is they hop on different gravy trains, and I'll give you the three, and you can agree or disagree. But one's the MIC. That's a staple. Trump into Raytheon, lot of greed, Martin, One is the ESG green cult, and the other's big pharma. Mm-hmm. I think those are the top three gravy trains because they all get government subsidies.
Yep. And we've been psyoped into accepting all three of them. I mean, we've been psyoped with the 9/11 lies about Iraq and Afghanistan being the origin of the attack. We've been psyoped into COVID lockdowns, even though it came from Wuhan and they don't allow us to talk about that. Even though the NIH and the NIAID was funding the research that created it, that's a psyop as far as I'm concerned. And then you also have
the same lab that created Nancy Pelosi. I heard. Yeah. I mean, they're the top researchers in bats, so they're probably into vampires. I don't know.
It's not a big leap. And then you have the psyop of the green agenda and the carbon crisis, and once again, it's an invisible enemy. You have racism, which is the invisible enemy too, which is the Black Lives Matter thing. It's like you have the invisible enemy of terrorism, the war on terror. You have the invisible enemy of COVID, a virus which you can't see, and now you have the invisible enemy of carbon.
I can't see any viruses, but
I know, but I'm just saying. All of them are invisible enemies, and I just think that's
not true. You can't. There are some viruses big enough to see. Look at Meghan McCain. Apparently, Joe Biden has cancer, and then they're like, Joe, you had some skin tags removed a year ago. You don't have cancer.
I think he just misspoke. Honestly, I think his brain is just broken. But
he's just like, I got cancer because I lived in Delaware. What?
He literally said that.
Is Delaware full of cancer all of a sudden? What, they got radioactive waste there or something? Like,
well, and he goes back every weekend. Like, what are you doing living there if it's such a cancer, central?
He needs the rest. I don't know. Maybe this is base operations of his little kids he likes to sniff or something. They just sit that's how they wake him up in the morning. They buy like children's shampoo and they go under his nose like a box of smelling pneumonia. They're just like, he smells the like Johnson & Johnson shampoo. He's like, what a little kid? Yeah.
He gets out of bed like Pepe Le Pew, like smelling the
odor of the girl. Like floats across the room. How did it ever start that the French smell bad? Don't they like really love perfumes and stuff? I mean, skunk for the French? I don't know.
Yeah,
Must have been a British author. I don't know.
Internalized bias on that one. I don't know.
They just wanted a French character, I guess. Le Pew. It's just somebody wrote around that whole thing. For those kids that don't know, that's a Warner Brothers cartoon character with Bugs Bunny and stuff. It was a skunk, whatever. He's always horny and always like smelled bad, so he'd get right up and then scare him away with his stink.
And he's constantly raping this black.
I guess they couldn't make him Italian because that's too on the nose, so they made him French.
Exactly.
It's not.
French.
How true does it have to be offensive? Like, we can't make them Italian because it's too close to the reality. So we'll make them French.
It'd be too obvious.
Always horny, but smells bad. I mean, it's pretty much Sicily.
Sicily. Jesus Christ. You're gonna get me canceled again. By the way, I tagged the SPLC this morning on my tweet saying, "Hey, I'm gonna be on ANC Report with Ryan Dawson. We're gonna be talking about ESG and how it's suppressing." I literally tagged the SPLC, and I was like,
Nice.
we're gonna be talking about ESG and how it's impoverishing and starving third world countries. You know, things that alt-white Nazis really care about. The third world that's starving to death.
Well, it's hitting hard in Sri Lanka and in Ghana.
Yeah.
Different situations, but same origin in both places. And again, some of that's also the COVID hysteria and overprinting and everything. But
no doubt,
they don't understand when you increase the price of diesel and natural gas, which is where you get a lot of the chemicals for fertilizer. That's it, man. I mean, we had an equilibrium there, and people cannot afford it. You can't fill up your tractor.
Well, and then you
don't eat.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking simple when you put it like that. But for some reason, these people, and I really believe that this is a product of the technocratic mindset.
Dude,
that
liberals just think governance. Food comes from the grocery store.
Right.
In the same way, they don't understand that, I'll just plug in and get electricity from the building. Well, where's the building get the electricity? Where's the store get the food? Right. From food trucks. Where'd they get it from?
Farm.
Farms. Yeah, farms. Exactly. And how did the farm grow it? They need fertilizer and diesel. Derp.
Yeah. And some of those fertilizers that work the best have nitrogen in them. And if you ban that fertilizer, well, then you all of a sudden you have people doing backflips into the presidential palace in Sri Lanka. And that's exactly what happened.
Hey, the Netherlands are up in rebellion even over there because the Netherlands are basically a big farm.
Exactly.
It's Europe's farm, right? And they're saying they're putting regulations on different nitrates that go into fertilizer and soil. And they staggered it like it's only 5% in some areas, basically 100 in others. And they're just wiping out agribusiness. And this cult started with Joe Lieberman, since the SPLC is watching. They I just lean into it because I'm like, it's so stupid. It's such a. I saw you were in their hit piece too. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
You know that when the SPLC is going after people like me and you and Reed and whatever, it shows like they have no actual Nazis to burn. Right? There are no witches to burn. They have to invent them because the U.S. is not a racist country. It is very hell-bent on the other way, like overly anti-racist to the point where like we don't have a race problem, we have a race obsession problem.
For real.
Just,
100%.
It really is so stupid. I don't care what someone, that's like a conversation. You meet someone and they want to know what your ethnicity background is. Like, what do you give a shit? Like, but that's what they do. It's right up there with your
ask me. I'm super white.
Well, which kind of white? I mean, are you,
to them, it doesn't matter. It only matters when you're not white.
Right.
It's
not interesting. It's not interesting unless unless you're a POC.
Exactly. And I happen to have a lot of German lineage, so I can't talk about that with the SPLC watching. They'll use it as evidence.
There you go. That's obviously genetic determinism. It's not even all like East Asians and Native Americans. They don't care about either of them either because they're not voting blocks. It's only the voting blocks they care about because that's what it's really about. They don't care about the Latinx, Latinx.
They fucked up big time with the Latinx though, because
breakfast tacos.
That and also Biden's approval rating with the Latin community is like under 30% or under 20% approval rating. It's fucking crazy, dude. I've never seen
because a lot of them work.
Right, exactly.
Working class people hate his guts. They have to drive places.
Yeah.
And it affects blue collar people the most. If you got to pay $45, $50 at the pump for your car.
Oh, dude, it's more than that. It's like $75 now.
Oh,
it's rough. Yeah. If you have
how much is a gallon of gas where you live?
With me, it's over $5. Yeah.
How much is it in the South? $4?
Well, I'm in Miami, so I'm in probably.
When you go all the way south, you're back in the north.
Yeah, exactly. That's what people say, and it's totally true. I think it's like mid to low fours in most of the
It
country,
was
but
420 when I was in Texas, and I thought it was like 378 to 4 or something in the Carolinas, and I've heard it's over $6 in California in some places, over $5 in Northern California, which is the good part of the state.
for a while it was over 7 in California. I mean, it was absolutely backbreaking.
Plus, well, that's because they have a 9% tax on top of it, you know.
Oh, they have huge taxes on gas. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, you're talking about the blue collar, the working class, and how they're suffering with the price of gas, dude. If you go shopping, it's insane. I mean, if you're like accustomed to say spending
$6 for a watermelon.
Yeah, I mean, if you're accustomed to spending $200 a week on groceries, you're looking at 400 easy now. It's really brutal.
Doubled.
And yeah, and in Miami it has. I mean, it's probably not as bad elsewhere, but it is absolutely brutal.
There's a lot of people in Miami just alone. I imagine every major city's having those problems. Yeah. They don't understand the relationship of, like, when you raise the prices of oil, gasoline, everything that gets transported anywhere just went up in price. Do they bring food to the store? Yes. Clothing, all these things, any retail, anywhere. Think about it.
Well, yeah. Well, then add to this
price.
Add to this AB 5, which is Assembly Bill 5 in California, which has now made it illegal for independent contracting trucking guys. So if you don't work for a full-time employer in California, you can know, and that is like 80% of the truckers that move, freight off of the ships coming in from the ports. So now you have truckers that are striking in Oakland, and you're gonna once again have a fucking backlog of ships that are just sitting waiting for their stuff to get taken off by trucks. And this is why I have to conclude, like, I know this does happen under communism, so like it could just be that this is a terrible worldview and this is blah blah blah. But to me, it just screams controlled demolition, man. The fact that all of these things line up, you have the ESG, the lockdowns, the printing.
It's almost like we have a president who's beholden, like China's got him by the short hairs, and they're designing a way to destroy the United States from within.
Sure feels that way. Yeah.
Dr. X says, "Happy birthday, Dawson's." Clint, where's Reed? Here to life, mates to life. Well, he's just off screen.
he's down there. He's under the table. Don't worry about it. He's
he's in New Hampshire, actually. Yeah. Gonna be they're trying to secede, I think. Like, get all the libertarians in one place, and
so they can drop one nuke on us. That's our whole master plan.
Well, yeah, one drone strike.
Exactly.
I mean, like, if you have all the libertarians in one spot, where's all the women? Oh, both of them are there. Oh yeah.
Right. Damn it! Stop being so truthful.
That's my joke. Is like, if you go to the Republican National Convention, there's some hotties. You go to the DNC, there's a bunch of horse face goons. Then you go to the Libertarian Party, and there's no girls at all.
It's just dudes. I will say there was more at PorkFest this year than I would have imagined. I mean, it was probably like 40% women. No, I swear there was a lot.
Well, people's girlfriends and wives come. Yeah,
right.
But
there's no like.
There are. That's the thing. Yeah.
There's no like hot single girls walking around for the most part. That's
because it's PorkFest.
Yeah.
You do live in the United States.
There are other options. There are other places to go.
I always lord the Asian supremacy. Like, they don't all look like my wife, but that didn't even get on camera. Hell. Move it. My joke does not fail. Still not on camera.
Is that actually your wife?
This is my wife. If I can get her on the screen. Yeah. People met her.
I believe you.
She's very cute. The calendar is just a bunch of my friends mostly. Where that fell down. Oh, there it is. You'll love this. I mean, this is July's month, right? Look what she's reading.
That is
In the Fed by Dr. Paul, right?
That is pretty fucking base, dude.
Dude, it gets more based. Like, it's base. But they're all, I have them all like reading Thomas Sowell and stuff. Like, look at the list, the book. I mean, there's the girl, but like, look at the books there, right? Wealth, Poverty, and Politics, Thomas Sowell. Divert by Grant Smith. You got Irving, David Cole, Why Peace, Mark Gudman, Robert Perry's Trick or Treason. I think is my book in there. I think Sean Atwood's on the top.
Yeah.
Doug Valentine, CIA's organized crime. I mean, that's and then a squirrel on the top. And
Is it spinning? Does it spin?
Yeah, it does. It's always twirling. It's the twirl squirrel. We don't know why. It's epilepsy of squirrel or something. Yeah, I got a lot of props here. That says that Z or S that way, but yeah, that's how we roll. That's how we do.
For the people that are thinking I'm overstating the ESG stuff, you have 10 trillion under management and BlackRock. You have like 6 to 7 trillion under Vanguard, and then you have
10 trillion.
Yeah, I'm dead serious.
That's hard to get your head around.
I know, it's fucking crazy.
That's like half of the Obama bailout.
I mean, 10 trillion is more than twice the GDP of America.
That's like thrice the budget of Hunter Biden's crack addiction.
I misspoke, by the way. It's not twice. It's the total money under management that is under ESG guidance. That people estimate is north of 50 trillion. I think America's GDP is like 24 trillion or something like that. So it's basically double. You're talking enough money to completely reimagine the entire economic system that we function under, the entire economy that we actually use for goods and services. I mean, this is a huge threat. Like I think it's bigger than COVID. I think it's bigger than the military industrial complex potentially. Like it is enough to change everything. And if we don't actually get some sort of populist movement against it, I think we're doomed, honestly. So I don't really want to starve to death.
Well, we can't really, until we get media, there isn't a way to reverse this. I always give this speech, but the media predicates everything else.
You're right.
And, this show, it's not going to be on YouTube or anything. We're not allowed. Can't be on Twitter. We're not allowed. And this is where all the eyeballs are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all the time, we have to continue to push Rumble, Bitchute, Odysee, VK, and all these alternatives, whether we're locals or whatever, you're using. Because that's it, man. We've always been able to survive stuff. We cannot turn the ship around on this one.
Nope.
This is going to do permanent damage to the United States, to the world. Europe's gone. Like, forget it. Europe was just going to be writing in history when they used to matter and run things. They're committing economic suicide from which they will not recover. There is no bouncing back after this.
Well,
the only state over there going to survive is Russia.
Right. I don't understand why Putin is allowing, because he's talking about turning back on the Nord Stream to get oil and gas, I think, to Europe. I don't understand why. Like they are arming Ukraine in the fight. Like I just, for the life of me, he has them so by the short hairs, as you said. Like, why would he just not break them? He could literally break their entire economy.
He could, but he's going to anyway. But they're doing it to themselves. But
true.
He knows that, like, okay, Canada, for that maintenance part, they were like, we can't give it to Russia. They sent it to Germany, and like, you do it. And like, I don't think he's using the oil weapon for the same reason the U.S. should not have used the dollar weapon. They kicked Russia off SWIFT, and what did that do? Yeah, it did a little temporary damage in the beginning, but then India, Pakistan, like Iran had already done this, but they're looking at that and going, whoa, why should we hold dollars? Because at any moment, if the U.S. doesn't like us for some political reason, they can freeze them all and go to zero. The reason to get off the dollar is not because it's insolvent, not tied to labor. No, like the dollar is pretty good. It's tied to a very large economy. The reason to get off the dollar is because it doesn't matter how many dollars you have. They are absolutely useless if the U.S. comes in and freezes them, right? And so they're like, well, we better diversify our war chest or what have you. We're not going to pay for it in dollars. We're not going to hold dollar reserves because all of our reserves could go to zero.
Yep.
Well, if Russia uses an oil weapon, people are going to be skeptical about doing trade with Russia because at any moment, if they don't like you, they just cut your oil off. In the long run, you lose your credibility and faith and say, well, I want to buy oil from you, but I don't want you, after we make these contracts and pay for it, to get mad about whatever and just turn off the spigot, right? So he's keeping the oil flowing, because I also think, they make profits selling it and they're going to sell it at a higher price, but he's not trying to destroy Europe. Europe's trying to destroy Europe. And yeah, they're going to send their weapons into Ukraine, and Russia's going to blow them up. I think if they were actually worried about what they were sending, they would turn the oil off. Everything I just said wouldn't matter because it'd be, do or die. But
yeah, I think
Russia has this war in the bag. Like, what are you sending? You're sending a bunch of obsolete 10-year-old era, junk. They don't have ammo for some of the guns they have. It's such a wasteland. It's a landfill for old gear, so that people have the excuse to backlog. Oh, we gave these away, so now we got to build these newer models and run the MIC. The profiteering is undermining their actual physical strategic interests, and they don't care. Because a lot of these politicians are going to be dead before the comeuppance and whatever they're making a buck. Greed's bringing them down.
I think you nailed it, man.
I think that's my best guess is he doesn't want to use the oil weapon because other peace states are going to be looking around going, well, wait a second. China's going to say, wait, should we buy a lot of oil from you or not? Because they do engage in a lot of human rights violations and all that, and they don't want them to just cut it off one day. Right? Sure. Nobody wants that. So you keep it flowing. If you keep it flowing for your enemies, it does the opposite. Everyone's like, well, I'll definitely buy Russian oil. They won't even cut it off to Germany. And look at what they're doing. That's a safe investment or safe deal, right?
Right.
So that's a great
point. No,
and
that's
also,
a great point.
The oil industry in Russia, Gazprom's got a lot of sway. They say, hey, we want to sell this.
No, of course. But I mean, my point was
one more reason too. They need to get those. They cannot turn those wells off. Because if that dries up, it takes 12 years to dig it and reopen. They need to keep the flow going and sell it to somebody. Yeah, so I think they are selling until they can get more going to Asia, and then they're going to divert.
Well, what I heard yesterday is that they are actually Russia is selling oil to Saudi Arabia, and then Saudi Arabia is turning around and selling it to America. So Russia is still going to sell their shit regardless. I just think it's
too.
Yeah, I just think it's tactically smart, like you said, to just represent a stable source of oil so that you can stand apart while the U.S. is kind of standing down. And we look
and
like
it's
idiots.
Like you're just getting it through middleman, and it's more expensive. You're not
exactly.
The net's the same. And that's what Joe Lieberman was doing with his carbon credit scam, right? They would say, okay, you have allotments. This was the plan. You're going to have an allotted amount based on greenhouse gases, which included methane. So that roped in all the ranching. They were blaming cow farts, right? It's about as close as you could get to saying bullshit. Cow farts are ruining the world or whatever. But what they wanted to do is monopolize. They didn't want independent agribusiness, ranching and farming. They wanted giant big ag. And so they made this allotment system. And what it did was, okay, you'd be capped at this amount based on the land you had and whatever. And it really favored places like Australia and the United States, which is mostly empty, right? It's just cities on the periphery, but the land count says, well, you get this many allotments because there's this much land, even though it isn't farmland. It doesn't matter. This is how they rig this stuff. So we're going to be able to sell the allotments to third parties. Well, if you're a little dinky farm and you're like, well, why should I work and produce to make money when I can just sell my allotments to big ag over here and collect the cash from that? So that they did. But when you sell your allotments and you're not producing, now big ag has no competitors. Right. They just buy your allotments and increase their production, but their production is all government subsidized and da 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 da. So it was a way of tightening the monopoly and squeezing out what little competitive businesses were left. And then it favored certain states that have lots of open land, right? And the Europeans, again, commit suicide. If you're like Belgium, you're mostly little cities or whatever, you don't have any allotments, right? But it favors certain things. And yeah, it didn't pass at first. And you know who was going nuts about the carbon credits, to his credit? Mr. Jones.
Oh, yeah.
He was going nuts about it. He wasn't explaining what I just did. He would say it was Illuminati did it or whatever. But, he kind of was on the right path. Like, it's a stupid idea. And as it doesn't actually curb greenhouse gas emissions, it just says who all can make them where, right? Like, you're not going to make them, but you're going to sell your allotments to me, and then I'm going to make more than I was, and the net's the same. So you're not reducing your carbon footprint. You're just playing around with where it gets made and furthering monopolies. But that's like too many sentences for a liberal, so you never can explain it to them because I didn't say race or sex the whole time, so I lost their attention.
I think that's why Alex reverts to just blaming it on interdimensional child molesters, because he realizes on the right wing too, if you actually explain it, that you'll lose people's attention. So you just gotta go, they're demons, they're Satan, they're coming to take your guns. I think that's probably why he doesn't go into detail, but maybe he just doesn't know the details. But there's real explanations, and the lockdowns are another example of how the biggest businesses were able to consolidate and crush competitors. Basically, the past, really my entire life, but the past 2 years, 2.5 years in particular, have been a very stark mergers and acquisitions / crushing of any competition in every industry out there. It's just pure fascism that we're dealing with, but on a global scale.
Restaurant industry, all those commercial properties in like New York and Philly and stuff. I wasn't there, but I saw people just go by on like a bicycle with a camera, and it's like empty window, empty window, empty window. They're all gone. All the retail, all the restaurants, gyms, all that, all gone. All the corner stores gone.
Yep.
Because
you go through LA
not
today,
allowed to do business. They were like, no, you can't hire people. And then they're like, well, you're gonna have to vaccinate and So they went out of business. And in San Francisco, it cost $22,000 in regulatory bullshit just to start. So they don't have the initial capital. Like, sorry, I cannot be a business in San Francisco anymore. It costs too much. But then what happens? So the price gets suppressed, right? Because the government regulates COVID's them out of business. And then here come BlackRock and Vanguard managing whoever's money for some real estate mogul, Kushner and Epstein, and buys it all up for pennies on the dollar. And then suddenly, oh, look, restrictions of COVID are gone now that 2 people own the whole block.
Yep, you nailed it. And Blackstone, which was I think the foundational company that BlackRock spun off of, Larry Fink is good friends, like childhood buddies with the CEO of Blackstone. Blackstone
Blast.
What's that?
Blackstone, Blast, BLAST, whatever.
Okay, but the CEO of Blackstone, Blackstone itself owns. It's the biggest real estate holding company in the world. So you have the biggest money manager and the biggest real estate holding company kind of working in unison to implement and profit from the consolidation of their entire, industry that they compete in. And they did it all.
Went up to Conrad Black too, not to be confused with Leon Black or Kofor Black, but Conrad Black in Canada and Holland Drank, and they run the Jerusalem Post and all this media and stuff. And it ties right back to government. And right back to the unelected part of government, people in the DOD and the advisors and Kissinger and people like that. Pearl, of course, it's like you look under a rock. There's Richard Pearl, right? He's always in there somewhere.
I like to imagine him as like the clown in It, just in the sewer.
Yeah, come here, kitty.
No, you're totally right, man. And did you read the article from The Guardian a couple days ago where they were talking about all the deep state, like CIA, FBI, that are all now working for Meta, which is Facebook's company?
I was surprised that got out.
Me too.
And even the New York Times stuck their pinky toe in the water recently, covering some of the Biden nepotism and stuff. But I feel like some people on Wall Street see what's coming. Like, hey, there's a massive ESG bubble. What are we going to do at the end of this? Is my door ring? Oh, I have to get a package. Hold on. I give you the floor. You can rant about whatever you hate.
SBLC.
Genius. Here's a question for you. Who's dumber, Jill Biden or Kamala Harris?
Oof. I'm gonna say Kamala. It's obvious that Joe is suffering from severe dementia, so it's close. But I think that at their core, Kamala is just retarded, and Joe, on the other hand, not so much. Anyways, I'll stop with the rant. SBLC, shout out. I'm done. I already said Kamala's stupider. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah. I mean, although Jill, the dumbest thing Jill Biden did was marry Joe Biden. Yeah, Kamala, I don't think you can really surpass Russia as a big country. They're going to ring that door in 2 seconds. Anyway, I got to pick up all the water or whatever. I'm the only one home. Sorry, y'all.
It's
what it is. But, dude, and Where was I going? The ESG bubble. So is there a way out of it though? Is there anybody in Europe or any, forget Canada and stuff, anybody trying to reverse this or bringing attention to this?
Yeah, there's a few. The most prominent, or the one that is taking the biggest swing, is Vivek Ramaswamy, who is the founder of Strive Capital Management, and he is creating a competing ETF to go like an anti-ESG ETF to go directly at the ESG big boys. So I think that he's the guy that you should be paying attention to. He wrote a book called Woke Inc. for any of the listeners out there if you want to check it out. It's not a deep enough dive. It doesn't give you the origin story, but it will definitely give you some of the examples of how full of shit ESG is. One of my favorite stories, which I don't think it actually was in this book, but it's a more new one. There was this company, I think it's called Core Civic, which is the biggest private prison operation in America, or one of the biggest. And their answer for increasing their G score, their governance score, as well as their S score, which is their social justice score, was to they were having issues with reports of their prison guards that were abusing the prisoners. So what they did, instead of remedying the abuse of the prisoners, they put a fucking mural of Martin Luther King Jr. in the workout yard, and that increased their score. I shit you not. That's how they got additional capital financing. It's fucking a scam, folks. It's a scam.
Just paint some George Floyd out there,
dude. That's basically what they're doing, and it really it increases your ESG score. It's a total black box. It means nothing, and it gets you trillions of dollars thrown your way. It's fucking wild.
This is the source of this equity wokeness.
Yes, right? It is. 100%.
Like if you act like this, you get these. You're paid to it's such. This is the end result of rapid identity politics. By the way, I knew I could just leave and come back again because Clint has his own show. So I'm like, oh, he's not, no problem.
I was rocking, dude. I was like, I wanted to get that story out about the private prison. I mean, there's other horror stories out there, but it's just so transparently fraudulent. But you are exactly right. This is the primary reason that the wokeness has taken over, not just corporate America, but our entire culture, is because everybody has not everybody, but the vast majority of people have corporate jobs. So they go to their job and their HR department is telling them, hey, we're going to have to do these training courses. This ties into DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Yeah. And then from the school level, they now have SEL, which is social emotional learning. All three of these mechanisms, SEL, DEI, ESG, all of them are a birth to death mechanism to implement wokeness in our culture and our civilization.
It is DIE, die.
Yeah, I wish. Well, we will. We will. Don't you worry.
It's going to strangle us, although I think the pendulum's about to really swing to the right this November, unless they just cheat, which, even with the cheating, I don't think they're going to make it. Just talking about that with my brother, he said in the schools now, it's not just like people pretending to be the other sex. There are people wearing like cat ears and tails and stuff. And because it's like, oh, I'm a cat person, which means you can't say anything to me. I have God powers because I can get you fired. It's like Gabe Hoffman, a little 5 foot nothing. He's like, oh, if you criticize me, I'll say you hate Jews. And if you get accused of that, that's like saying somebody's a rapist. It doesn't matter if you're exonerated, you're filth forever. Like you can't come out of that clean, right? Yeah. Because America is not a racist country at all. It's hyperly the other direction.
This is the only reason I pursued this path so aggressively is I knew, as soon as the Mises Caucus was listed in the SPLC article a month ago, right before the Reno takeover of the Libertarian Party, I knew eventually I would be dragged in. I didn't think it would happen so fast, but I did this with eyes wide open. I knew that if I was going to talk about, ending the Federal Reserve and ESG and all the insanity of wokeness, like I was going to be labeled a fucking alt-right.
Look, this is what they do, because I've been dealing with this forever. When you're effective and speaking truth to power, they're just going to call you a Nazi or whatever, because it works. Like, although it's working less and less, because the more people they hurl that at, like I'm on Canary Mission with people like Max Blumenthal and who's Jewish and not a racist at all, or whatever, and like pretty prominent, like Roger Waters from Pink Floyd, who's also not a racist at all, whatever, but he supports Palestine. So like, you hate the Jews, and it's like, that's going to cause actual anti-Semitism because racism begets racism. But two, they're wearing out the Nazi label. But the thing is, there are some people who fit the bill, like Richard Spencer, and he gets to be on CNN.
Right.
and give his
Right.
piece. But people who are nothing, that label doesn't apply to them at all, like you, like myself, they're just like, oh, you're the worst people in the world. And I'm thinking, you have no one that you can really go after, because I feel like they like anti-Semitism a little bit. Like they want those people saying crazy stuff so they can point to it, get more donations,
Absolutely.
whatever, But you're really talking like there's so few of them, you can name them all. It's like Dr. Duke, this Eric Stryker, or whatever. Just a few people with zero power whatsoever that say mean things on the internet. Like every institution, every university, every media outlet, every bank, everything is totally 100% against racism and prejudice, and that's a good thing. But the problem is, because we're so anti fill in the blank prejudice, that means they realize just the accusation alone can get people fired. So if you want to deplatform somebody, just call them a racist. You want to get someone fired from the job, just say they're sexist. You want to get someone kicked out of university, say they're homophobic or trans, whatever. And so they realize this is kryptonite. Any corporation, whatever, they're so far gone the other way that all I have to do is accuse people of this, and I can get rid of whoever I want. And
Exactly.
they do. And that's happened on Twitter and other places too. And so this tiny radical minority has its voice amplified by like a factor of 1,000,000, because the most intolerant wins. And they can go through and just yell phobicism, and purge anyone interesting or intelligent out of social media, out of the regular media, out of the workforce. And it's gotten to the point where they're actually creating racism, because like if you're a straight white male, you can't get hired until all the other categories are full.
Right. Which is going to create anger.
Prejudice. Well, it's racist itself to whites, so that's already bad. And then you're undermining the credibility of everyone else, because they don't know if they're really qualified or just the best in their category. It's a slap in the face to minorities. There's no good that comes of it.
None.
But they see it, and all this stuff was beta tested on Indian reservations. It's the attitude of the outright racists that just thought Indians are incapable and savage or whatever. And then you've got like the left-wing racist that treats them like children who can't take care of themselves. So we're going to go in and welfare everybody. And they can't own their own land. They're not ready for freedom. You saw this a bit about Muslims and Iraqis and stuff too. Like, oh, they're not ready for democracy and freedom. We have to set it up for them or whatever, because they can't do this, which is also racist, or whatever. That's real racism. And that's ignored. But the fake kind, like, oh, you don't have an even number of left-handed green-eyed Eskimo or whatever. Dude, that's what they're trying to enforce. Like, you got to have one of each of these things. Why are you making all these categories? That doesn't make any sense, right? No. How far is it going to go? You're going to have to hire people a certain height next. Oh, you don't have enough short people. Oh, you don't have enough bald people. Oh, you don't have enough this. You don't have enough that.
We're already there, man. We're already there. That's what's happening. And what really
Canada to see the future, right?
Yeah, no shit. But I mean, the real hopeful thing in this is that the left, as it progresses, it does eat itself. So it's going to eat itself, but it's just like, how much do we have to suffer in the interim before it collapses? And I think the answer is a lot, because the vast majority of people are still so afraid to speak out. And I think probably half of the country feels similarly to how we do when it comes to like hating the wokeness and hating this agenda to divide us and to make us feel miserable about ourselves, or make us feel like victims or oppressors or whatever. But the vast majority of people, because they're yeah, exactly. But
so nasty.
But their paycheck depends on it, so they won't speak out. And it's like, if you would just speak out, you'd know you're not alone. But they won't.
Yeah, well, where I live, they're not doing any of this. Japan's been a conservative country for like the last 55 years in a row, and it just went even more right wing after Abe got assassinated.
I would imagine.
They're not having this. But I laugh when people are like, "Hey, Ryan, why'd you move to Japan?" Well, go look outside. That's all I have to say. Walk outside and look around. That's why.
It's probably pretty nice. What do you know? What was it? A Chinese?
I mean, go outside of the U.S. and look around at all the crazy. That's why I'm gone.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, was it a Chinese operative to take out Abe?
No.
Okay.
That is garbage online. What happened was actually far more interesting. Tatsuya Yamagami was, I've met him before actually. I was the Goodwill ambassador for Nara, the state. So I know a lot of these people, and his mother had donated $1 million to the Unification Church, which is out of Korea. So his father killed himself, then his grandfather died, and the construction company went to his mom. They used to own a construction company. They were millionaires. She gave away everything to the church, and they lived in poverty, him and his siblings. And he grew up with this great resentment. Like, they would keep coming back to her. She'd be bankrupt, and then she'd just sell off whatever else they had, get the money, give it to the church. She went insane when the father died. And he blamed Abe's grandfather for bringing the Unification Church to Japan. Now, he's wrong, but what he's doing is he went online and he read a bunch of left-wing garbage, because the left wing says, oh, Abe visits the shrines of war criminals and he wants to militarize Japan. That's this Japanese CNN. Okay. It's total crap. Abe is not a member of the Unification Church, and no one in his family ever was. The only overlap they had with the UC which is a Nicene Christian cult in Korea that wants to unify North and South Korea, but they hate communists. Abe is part of Nippon Kaigi, which is a far right, bring back the emperor, Shinto, Japanese nationalist, right wing, change the constitution, bring back the army, bring back the option to offense, change Article 9. And they also hate communists. So the only overlap these two organizations have is they hate communists. So back in the day, they brought the Unification Church over to Japan because Abe's grandfather worked with the Yakuza, and the CIA was using organized crime to break up labor unions and strike because they were paranoid about communists. Turns out they were right. There really were a lot of commies coming in there. But anyway, that's all I did. The whole overlap was hating communists in China. And part of hating communism is really just hating China. That's sad to say, but whatever. But it had nothing.
The assassin was just propagandized into.
His family lost $1 million because he read all this propaganda, blamed it on Abe for his family bringing the church over. He couldn't get the head of the church, who's in South Korea, so he made a homemade gun, or cannon, whatever, and shot Abe. And he actually practiced because he didn't want to hit anyone else. He just wanted to hit him. And it's silly because, like, he's no longer the prime minister. He's retired, and shooting him the day before an election just made the LDP get even more seats than ever. Right.
Yeah,
they're still in charge. But he was at the point, like, I can no longer care about the political consequences of this. He has to die. It ruined his life. He tried to kill himself in 2005, right after he got out of the Japanese Defense Force, so that his younger sister could get his life insurance, because they were so sick of being poor.
That's brutal, man.
Yeah, and it is brutal, because, like, that happened, and then there was the 2008 bubble. There was the 400-year anniversary of Nara City in 2010, and then there, Rona and all this stuff, and they just couldn't bounce back. But he'd already tried and killed himself once, and he worked a forklift for a construction company in the Tomio, Minami, Koma area, right near Yamato Saidaiji, where he killed Abe. And he quit in May. So there was a red flag. Like, he desperately needed a job and money, and he quit the job that he had that May because he was already planning to go to prison or be killed by the system, right? And he started practicing his homemade guns. And he had some really interesting ones. He had like a 9-barrel one, a 6-shot one. He used CO2. He used different accelerants, and then he settled on what he settled on.
Wow.
But it had nothing to do with China or any of the conspiracies online. It was just like a guy whose family had lost everything. They went from millionaires to zero. And I often tell people don't enjoy velocity, only acceleration.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the same thing with sorrow. If you've never been a millionaire, it doesn't really matter. But if you have one and lost it, that's a lot of pain.
Hell yeah.
So
if you're poor from jump, it's not you don't know any different. But if you've had money, if you've eaten filet mignon,
living that way, and you could have been that way and expanded it, and it was generations to gather all that wealth and gone from one idiot lady, right?
Yeah.
He should have shot his mom instead of shooting Abe.
Right.
He should have shot his mother. Like in the middle of it, you should mom wasting all the money, bam. Right. The church is gonna find a sucker, but the sucker holds responsibility too. Right. You've got children that you can't feed because you've given away all of your money and possessions. It's sick. I mean, it was like worse than following Stefan Molyneux. What's he say? Fubar? What's he?
Yeah.
Safu your family. I don't remember the phrase. It's like leave them is what he was saying. He had some weird word for it though, but
yeah,
man, that's
Defu. I think
that's what it was. D family. Yeah. Defu. What a dork. Yeah. Every time I see him, it's like his head's talking like a South Park character.
It does kind of look like that. Not gonna lie.
He got kicked off YouTube too. And it's like, what happened to that guy? When you're not on YouTube, you disappear. It doesn't matter how huge your audience was. Once you're off YouTube, you're out of sight, out of mind, right?
Yeah.
That's how it is. And as I know, but man, we're trying hard to build up alternative media. And this should be the topic at hand. Like I cover Ukraine a lot, and I think that's also an important thing. And it is adding to this problem, but do not let them blame the war. This is liberal policies that are destroying the Western world.
100%.
This green agenda, because it's a giant gravy train, and these money managers and financials know that it's a sure bet, and they're putting all their eggs in one basket.
Yep. Well, that and the lockdowns, which was liberal, progressive type
liberal
policies.
Hysteria for the lockdowns too, and they are not covering the gain of function research from Echo Health in Wuhan creating the virus because they don't want Trump to be right. So they cannot admit it, because he kept calling it the China virus and all that, and it turns out it actually was made in lab. They don't want him to be right, so they're running smoke screen and cover because they can't stand him, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't establishment-y enough, right?
Yeah. Well,
I don't like that.
From my perspective, it's just creating a Streisand effect where all I want to do is look into the Wuhan Institute of Virology because of their misdirects. So they're kind of fucking up in that regard.
Well, you can want it all you want, but they're not going to do it. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I can't get the CCP to actually release the information, but it's like at this point, I'm convinced that's where it came from, and I'm convinced that we were actually paying for the research. So
it's genetically traced back there. I mean, we've had whistleblowers out of China talking about the bats and all that. They first
like a year ago,
this lab in Australia, Sky News went and filmed them. Yeah, bats in cages in the lab, and they even talked about what happens when they bite you. What? Yeah.
And we gave them a couple $100 million to upgrade their ventilation system in I think it was August of 2019, right as the release is happening. It's like it all adds up, man. I hope
that leads into the travel industry and all these other things that the COVID hysteria hit up. It's a double whammy. You got that plus like the diversity hire crap, where air travel within, especially internationally in the US right now, it's almost impossible.
Yeah, man.
Everyone's getting flights canceled constantly, and just they can't handle it. And the entry level people don't deserve to be there, but they have to do them. They have to hire these people. Like, do you speak Spanish at all? You're hired, even if they have no other skill set. Well, that's not a good business model.
Yeah,
they can.
I think we're going to see plane crashes and shit. Like we're going to actually see real catastrophes because of the mismanagement, both in terms of
force a certain number of female pilots. Is that what you get? That's what a sexist would say, right?
That's kind of what I was hinting at. Yeah.
No, for real though. If you force, doesn't matter what it is.
I know.
If you're forcing people to hire pilots that aren't qualified, then they're going to crash.
Yeah, they don't have enough training, and you're forcing the older pilots that have 10,000 hours under the behind the wheel, into retirement, and it's also fucked up. Actually, last week on my show, I can't disclose what airline he works for, but he was a pilot in America. I had him on to break down why, because I travel a lot because I speak kind of professionally now at different Liberty events and things like that, and I'm traveling constantly. I'm flying all the time, and I was stuck in New Jersey for 3 days, even though I was fucking trying to travel from Boston to Miami. and I ended up fucking in New Jersey for days. And I was like, what is happening? So I go out on Twitter. I have enough of a following that I could ask, and I get
That is
a
a
legit
personal
pilot.
hell for me.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
stuck
New
in
Jersey.
for 3 days. Like of all the places in the United States to get stuck,
Bro,
New Jersey.
they put me in the most cracked out hotel I have ever been, or motel, or whatever the fuck it was. It was horrifying. It was not fun, but there's a lot of reasons for it. I mean, the vaccine mandates added to it, the lockdowns that broke the supply chains also added to all sorts of pressure, forced
All the thinking
pilots to
people
resign.
left. Like
What's
everybody with agency didn't want to get a vaccine and quit. So
Yeah.
you're just nothing but NPCs, and they
Yep.
can't. They're just following a script, and anything that goes off that script, they don't know how to handle.
Well, and then you also have customers who are fucking vicious to these people because they're miserable because they're wearing a mask for 6 hours as they fly across country. You have people that are just quitting outright, and they're like, well, plus I can get unemployment insurance if I quit. Plus, a pilot, I learned this, if a pilot claims they have anxiety or anything, if they just say, I can't fly, they don't fly, and they can't get fired. So you have tons of pilots that are just calling out, like, because they feel like they're not getting paid adequately. So it's all just government created.
Yeah, I guess if they've got anxiety, you don't want them suiciding with everybody else on the plane, right?
Right. No, I mean, it's a reasonable, like,
The reason, but that's so easy to exploit at the same time. But then how
exactly.
do you right? Well, how you get around is you don't make conditions so shitty that they're going to use that loophole.
Exactly. Yep. So we're in trouble, man. The economy is going to get real ugly here in the next year or so.
Dude, they can't even mail things. Like I'm dealing with times I sell stuff, and like I tried to get an American phone mailed to Japan. It just got returned to sender. They don't know where Japan is because it says Nippon on the computer or whatever. Like, I remember being in Los Angeles, sending a package to the Netherlands, and the woman kept writing Northern Ireland. I said, it's not. She's like, this place isn't in Northern Ireland. I'm like, that is correct. And she just looked at me, the 50-yard stare, and I said, it says Netherlands. And then she's like, oh, I tried that first. That's not in the computer. I said, try Holland. And she's like, why do you want to go to the Holland? It was going to the Netherlands. And I was like,
oh my God, dude.
Okay, it's the same place. And you work in a post office. I mean, geography is the only thing you need to know.
We're in trouble, man.
This isn't like Liechtenstein or something. It's the fucking Netherlands.
I
They didn't
know
where it was. You don't know where the farm is? Come on. And
I'm telling you,
airlines are just all right. You think, okay, the number one, the post office needs to know geography the most. Number two is probably travel, right? Probably airlines.
Yeah.
I'm going to Osaka, second biggest city in Japan. 3 women in a row didn't know where that was.
What?
Well, we can get you to Japan, but not your final destination. I said, that's okay. Get me to Tokyo. I'll take a train. They just like, but you can't get to Osaka. I'm like, Osaka's also in Japan.
Holy shit, dude.
Really? 3 women in a row.
I'm telling you, we're in so much trouble. We have such stupid people from like the employment ranks, and then we have the worst possible government on top. It's like, I don't know how you survive that.
Here's another one. This involves New Jersey. So I wasn't allowed to leave Texas because of Rona. So I go to Florida until I could pass the test. And I'm like, okay, as soon as I pass the test, I booked a flight, 7 a.m, get out of here. Because that means 5, right? In midnight, they send me an email. Oh, you've been changed to 9:30. Okay. But I had a connection in New Jersey, and they were wanting me to get a cab in New Jersey and then go to JFK in New York and then fly out of JFK to like San Francisco and then go to Japan or whatever.
No way.
Or no, straight all the way to Tokyo and then Tokyo to Osaka. I'm like, yeah, but if I don't leave at 7, if I leave at 9:30, I'm not going to have time to get to JFK anymore with all the security and traffic and whatever. I'm like, I can't do this, and I cannot miss this flight. This is the second time I've had to pay for it already. This woman's like, no problem. I'll fix it for you. And she gets in and she's like, now I got you going to Newark, and then from there to San Francisco, and from San Francisco to Japan, you're going to get there at the same time. I said, how's that possible? Well, you're going to leave San Francisco at 1 a.m. or whatever. I'm like, okay, lady, Japan's a day ahead already, and it takes the day to get there. So that's 2 days. And how can I leave San Francisco at 1 and then get to Japan at like 8 p.m. yesterday? It's not possible unless I'm traveling through time. And this is the greatest thing. She's like, oh, she got the day. If she says she got the days wrong, I'm like, okay, I'm getting Japan at 7 a.m. and you just want me to sit in Tokyo until 8 p.m. and then get a connection flight to Osaka. I could almost walk there faster. You have a like an 18-hour, 12-hour or something sitting there. And I'm just like, what is wrong with you? They finally corrected that. I had like business class because of this. But I end up getting Japan a day later than I was supposed to. And that was the limit. I'd already lost 5 days because of COVID. Didn't get my visa in on time. Had to go through the headache. So now I have a 3-year visa instead of 5 because I didn't get my paperwork fast enough because I couldn't get home quick enough.
Oh my God, dude.
And if that stupid ass had if they hadn't canceled my flight and got me there by the 12th instead of the 13th, I could have done all my stuff and had it in and I'd have a longer visa. Now I don't because of Rona, the panic and diversity hire, and just the sheer fucking stupidity of American Airlines and United Airlines. I'm like, at first American Airlines butchered it. So then I got United. They were not any better. It's just, I will not fly. I don't care what it costs. I'll do Hawaiian or, all Nippon Air or Korea, whatever. I will fly to China and then fly China Air all over the U.S. before I will fly on American Airlines or United. I will never, ever fly with them again after all that. Never.
Well, that's how I feel too, man. I think I was on Delta that fucked me, but it left. Yeah,
Delta stands for do not expect luggage to arrive.
Dude, allegedly they used to have like the most on-time flights, but every airline's fucked now. Every single one. I mean, in America at least.
Well, you look at the employees.
Yeah.
And it's like, they look like Sloth from the Goonies when you ask them a question. And he's thinking, okay. That's the other. I get there early. They don't have my boarding passes. I have to wait in line. There's only 4 people. No problem. That took an hour and a half because the woman at the desk kept leaving and coming back again. What the hell she was doing? I use her phone, Like, you're at work. They act like it's an inconvenience because now here's another great thing about America. If you're like in a Walmart or something and you need to get a thing, it's locked up in a case because so many people steal because you're allowed to just steal $950 worth of stuff because equity or whatever. And so somebody's sitting there doing their nails, or whatever, and you're like, can I see this? And they're like, oh, they got to go get the key and then walk over there and open the thing for you. Sorry to burden you to work while you're at work. And so I think stores lose money because I'm not asking for a second thing because it's such a chore to get the employee to go over there and unlock the case. And why are all these things locked in cases? The only thing not locked in case is the vegetables and the sunscreen.
Well, and everyone's so demoralized now. Like, you have enormous amounts of people that are unwilling to work. So the people that are willing to work don't have to do a good job because they know the employer can't replace them because they already have 10 or 15.
Yeah. Andrew Yang, thanks a lot. Let's just pay everybody to do nothing because people work for the enjoyment of their job, right? No, people work for money. No one likes a job.
By the way, for your audience's information, the article that was written about myself and Reed and Dave and the Mises Caucus was written because we are affiliated with Ryan Dawson and because we were at an event speaking where Andrew Yang was going to be speaking, and they had to try and connect some sort of fucking crazy daisy chain of dots to make him affiliated with Ryan. So,
and then I'm smeared for being affiliated with I don't know, Michael Piper and David Cole. Michael's dead, by the way, and there's nothing wrong with David Cole. He writes for Tacky Magazine with Ann Coulter and a lot of people. But all that shit started because I used to be on Russia Today, and they hate Russia. And so this guy named Adam Holland did this smear piece, called me a Holocaust denier who's friends with hate criminals, and there's something else. And RT's Holocaust denier friends with hate criminals. Article's since been removed, but the smear still lingers on. I didn't work for RT. I just appeared on RT. Like I appear on Press TV or Al Jazeera or whatever. Of course, yeah. Which I deserve. I know geopolitics. That's why I get called and I answer and whatever, and they've never censored me. I don't work there. I'm not a Holocaust denier, and I'm not friends with hate criminals, whatever the fuck that is. But, I interviewed revisionists and stuff on everything, on World War II, Civil War, whatever. But that's the one they hone in on. Yeah. And that follows me around. And it's
What
like,
year was that when that was first written? Like 09?
2014 or something like
Oh, it's
that.
14. Okay.
I think so. And unless they, I mean, and then I was on Israeli TV getting smeared back in like 05. Well, this is how they're clever. This is what they did. Some guy, Mike Delaney, who was like a Christian identity white supremacist or something. Some other dude I never heard of that I think he's related to Tom Metzger or something. And then me. And what they did is they showed the Mike guy saying some outrageous anti-Semitic bullshit. And they showed the other guy saying some outrageous bullshit. And then they just sort of sandwiched footage of me in the middle, but I wasn't saying anything because I've never said anything like that. So they just like placed me in between two Nazis. They never actually called me a Nazi, but they implied it by sandwiching me in with people who actually profess that stuff. And I'm like, what's hilarious is the video they chose. I was saying the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I was challenging these people. I'm like, dude, Jews aren't Zionists. Zionism is a political ideology, not an ethnic group. And Judaism is a religion / ethnic group, depending on how the person defines it. They have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah, there's like, many Christian Zionists that have ruled our political establishment for the past 20 years.
Anybody can be a Zionist. You don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist. Anybody can be a Zionist. Usually they're Jewish because it tends to be Jewish supremacists or Jews, white supremacists or white, black supremacists or black.
Of course.
But you don't have to be, you know.
Right.
You could be in it for religious nutty reasons or whatever. But it's like, I know that they know that it's not true and they did it anyway. Yeah. Right. And the way they clipped content of mine, I'm like, how much shit did you watch to find that? Means you know from listening to me for over the years what my positions really are. And then you clip something out of context, the them every time video, and then you clip off the end, you clip off the beginning, and you go, oh, look, this one time he said the J word. I'm like, yeah, right after they killed Soleimani. But I say that for every other group. I say the Kurds, the Russians. I don't have to go, well, not all of them. You know, like, you know what I'm fucking saying. But they don't care. It's disingenuous trash. And the real reason they hate me is because I criticize Israel. That's all it is. Of course. And they do that to everyone, every prominent anti-Zionist there is. You know, Gideon Livy, Max Blumenthal, whatever, it gets called anti-Semitic or self-hating Jew or whatever. They went after Norman Finkelstein. I think they fired him, got him out of tenure. And why? Because he went against Israel. That's why. He's not anti-Semitic. He's Jewish himself. And he's not a collectivist. Well, he's not religious. He's an atheist, but whatever. He's of Jewish descent or what? I don't know. That stuff confuses me. I'm like, if you're not religious, then you're not Jewish. To me, you don't inherit Christianity, right? You just believe in Jesus or you don't.
I think they do believe. I think they believe that it's by the mother's blood. I think I could be wrong though.
Yeah, but that's part of the religion. So if you rejected religion, you should reject that part of it. They'll be chosen race and stuff, right? Yeah. If you're really 100% atheist, then all that's garbage. There is no King David. There's no Adam and Eve. So the whole thing is whatever. Like, I don't know. I think they're just less religious. They're still religious. They just don't believe in all of it or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
It's all stupid identity politics to me.
Yeah. I hate it.
You shouldn't define yourself by like, oh, I'm related to this and this and this and this. I'm like, okay, I'm American Indian. Should I be smoking tobacco and getting drunk every day? No, I'm just kidding. Like, whatever the thing is, like, dude, whatever, you know. I live in Japan.
You should definitely open a casino. I mean, if you're going to be Indian.
Well, guess who had casinos first?
Oh, really?
There's a statistic on that. Oh, by the way, if you look at who really owns Indian casinos, they're like 1/132nd Indian, and guess what the other portion is? And what they do is they'll say, oh, this percentage of Indian reservations have gambling. But when you really look at the statistics, if you have bingo, that counts as gambling because everybody buys a bingo board. And like, so lots of people have bingo in any town. You know, that is not the same as like slot machines and craps and stuff, but they count that as, oh, see, all these Indians are doing gambling. They're allowed to gamble. I'm like, you're allowed to gamble on that level too. And what is it's a negative right? What do you mean they're allowed to? You're naturally allowed to gamble. You're only not allowed to gamble if someone says you can't. Right? You can do that anyway. It's not something you're giving. You're not giving them that. But that welfare system, man, because Indians don't own their own land. They have like, it goes into a trust into the BIA. And what happens is if someone dies, then all their kids get even portions. And it gets to a point after a couple of generations where, since you need unanimous consent to do anything with land, but you got like 50 people that own pieces of it, or, you own shares of it. You don't actually own the land. The BIA owns everything. The Bureau of Indian Affairs, which we call bossing Indians around. That's what it really is. And they bottleneck the court cases and all that. And so you end up with communism, really, because the state owns 90% of the land, 95% of the land. And there's a welfare system, and just, they got the company store, we're going to the trading post and whatever. And it brings the results that welfare is brought to any other place. A bunch of alcoholism and problems, and they all eating processed foods because that's what they offer them, just the bare minimal, and that causes health defects and It's disgusting, man. But like, they are suffering from the same socialist hell as any other state that's tried it.
Yeah.
And I agree with Russell Means. Let them have sovereignty over their own land. They won't, because they treat Indians like children. Like, oh, you're not ready to govern yourselves.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. They're people like anyone else, and they can govern themselves.
Of course.
Nothing's worse than having other people govern. Like, who can govern things that are in their own interest? Better than that. Like, oh no, we're going to let some outside force decide what to do with your land. Well, by the way, we're going to give it all to Peabody Coal and all these foreign companies.
Yeah, like they're not going to take advantage of that position.
99 years and take out all the uranium, which you're going to mine. Then we're going to put the nuclear waste in your sacred mountains. How about that?
Fucking ridiculous, man.
That was not a sarcastic thing. That's a real life example I just rattled off.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Didn't it seem like the Babylon Bee, like, you can't, like, they got to have a really hard time, because when you say stuff like, I actually fell for this. They're like, oh, Joe Biden just passed $30 million for crack pipes. I'm like, aha, funny. No,
Like,
really.
no,
Yeah.
no, for real.
Babylon Bee, that happened. Or archaeologists are now being pressured by woke groups to stop labeling skeletons as male and female.
It happened.
That's also a real story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, all they do is they just they take two stories and they combine them, and they escalate it one level ahead. So it'll be like, Biden declares that he has cancer, but don't worry, it's just his dementia speaking, and that's the headline. So it's tough to parody this clown world. It really is.
It was such a letdown. You're just talking about skin tags some years ago. I thought he really had cancer. I was like, let's go. Then I was like, wait, can he give it to Kamala? Because you cannot even get excited about Joe Biden getting popped off, because look what's waiting in the wings. You couldn't find a more vapid, clueless, brain dead woman in the United States. How did she get to that position? It had to be a lot of dicks.
Dude, incredible. No gag reflex, just like
she
head game.
She must be good at that, because
unbelievable.
I don't know how she got there.
Yeah, she's got to be the best on the planet. Like, literally. I really believe that.
She just pull out her dentures or something. I don't know what it is. Like, when you see a woman like that who's just a fucking idiot in a position like that, you're like, how many dicks? Like, it's like, how many licks to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop? You're old enough to remember that.
How many dicks to the center of the
how many dicks to this
palace
CEO position or whatever? Like, how many? I mean, she goes to work wearing knee pads. Like, there's no way. Like, just having a brown vagina is not enough, because there are other people with brown vaginas that are way more qualified than her. So it's not just this equity stuff. Like, she did not just get hired for having a colored pussy. She must be a Hoover vacuum down there or something. Some kind of skill, because there's no other explanation.
She's a great public speaker.
Tulsi Gabbard put her in the woodshed. Tulsi's a brown vagina, and she's smart. She hired her.
Yeah.
Picked her. No. That would have done all the same check boxes, right? But she's married and loyal and not wearing knee pads.
Yep.
Where
and she actually thinks for herself. So
Kamala was like the secondary hoe for Montel Williams. She wasn't even like the primary girl. She was like the one that walked behind the other one.
Yep.
Like,
it was Montel and Willie Brown.
The Godfather on WWE. Like the local one they hired, right?
And then Kamala ends up with this Dougie cat, which is like the most obvious homosexual I've ever seen in my life, but whatever.
More obvious than Lindsey Graham.
No, you're right. I take it back. I take it back.
There is a scale, like on a scale of like David Bowie to Richard Simmons.
Too bad we don't have Eric Jackman here to do the Lindsey Graham impersonation.
Oh, I know. It's got to take boots. Some sound translation on those boys. I can't do that.
No, that's pretty good. He always goes there. Anyways, man, I gotta grab some food and head to bed. You got any other ESG questions for me?
Well, you know what? I'll just refer to where he's been talking about it. So I'll go to Liberty Lockdown and listen to about ESGs. Are you on Substack?
No, I'm not. I'm not actually.
You should be, because then you could put your videos on there and also any articles you want on there. And people,
you can put videos on Substack? I didn't know that.
You can now. Yeah.
Okay. Dope. Yeah, I'll do it then.
That's kind of a new thing they started about 4 months ago.
Okay.
So,
sweet.
I see Woo, Pop, and Get a Busha, Vaximal on Rumble. I just read those. Checking. Holy shit. Well, I got to go over these. I just looked at Entropy. I'll go quick. B Hayes 82, happy shekels. Chip Walker says for Scott since 5, he was on before you. James Edward 333, not the aviator glasses though, the one for the Gipper. Oh, thank you. Dusty Boots, there's Lindsay. For a Dead Jackson says happy birthday, Rye. You're my favorite fact checker. What do you guys foresee in the U.S. real estate market? Things are definitely shifting. Did you answer that while I was gone?
No, I'll answer it real quick. Inventory is
Mm-hmm.
still hyper low, so I don't think that you're going to see the collapse that we ought to, because obviously supply and demand still matters. There's not nearly enough supply to meet the demand. The demand is obviously decreasing because the increasing interest rate cycle makes your dollars go less far in terms of your borrowing capacity. So you're going to see some price compression, but I don't think you're going to see the bottom fall out until we have major layoffs. And I think the major layoffs will probably be sometime next year, unless the Fed reverses course on their promised interest rate hikes. If they do that, then all bets are off. But if they proceed with their stated plan of 3 more half point interest rate hikes over the remainder of the year, look out below. The economy is going to be fucking demolished. So that's
going to lower the yen and the won too. 2 cent Canadian since 25 Canadian says, I know it's only a nickel American. Times are crazy in commie Canada, but all the best to you and your family, Sarah. Hope everyone's healthy and 100%. Your work has had a large impact in Canada. Thank you, Dagnalon. And then he does the double Dagnalon, which we joke about is like if you go from like Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, there's another like diagonal line. It's all pretty base. Centrality said, where do you guys see the world the next 2 years? I see famine this winter. That's what I see.
Yeah, dude. I think the third world in particular is going to be fucking annihilated because of the supply chain breakdowns. I think the economy in the first world will be very, very rough, but it really depends tremendously on Fed policy. So pay attention to that closely.
I see a lot of violence too. Like as things get squeezed, you're gonna have more shootings and just random.
It's already gotten pretty bad over the past 2 months. We've had like 6 like major mass shootings. So
hey, I was drinking Rittenhouse, reading some Charles Dickens.
Get it? Drinking Rittenhouse.
Kyle Rittenhouse, and Dickens was the shooter that shot that shooter.
Oh shit! All right, yeah.
Justice. R.N. Jim Zeus says Kamala can suck a golf ball through a garden hose.
That's a fact.
Yeah,
that's an absolute fact.
It's still funny. Suck a golf ball through a garden hose. I think she could probably suck a beach ball through a garden hose because there's something that must be her skill. I don't know what it is.
She can suck a football through a garden hose. She could take the what is it? Take the polish off a trailer hitch or something like that.
Right. Yeah. We're getting into the territory that I am good at, but it probably shouldn't in this like intellectual discussion with a nanier than a nanier. But yeah. Anyway, Clint Russell, ladies and gentlemen, Liberty Lockdown, still on all your alt stuff, and I think he's going to get a Substack. We'll see.
I will for sure. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it is at Liberty Lock Pod. I'm about to hit 50,000 followers, which is crazy. So it'll probably won't last, but I'm over there for now. So check me out.
I would not have said your Twitter on my stream, but okay, you can roll the dice.
Wait,
I hate this guy. I hope he gets kicked off Twitter.
Oh shit. Uh-oh. Well,
No, I
I'm
mean they'll do the opposite of whatever they think I want. So
okay. Okay, good. Phew.
50,000, congratulations. I think I had that once upon a time. Take it
I
all
believe you.
away. So yeah, it
Well,
sucks. Yeah.
they're coming
At
for me
81,000
eventually.
on YouTube. It sucks. On the like 6th or 7th one.
I don't really
So
talk about Israel and Palestine, so they should leave me alone, but we'll see what
it's not
happens.
just that, it's COVID, it's Ukraine, it's
Yeah.
Numac. Like I just, once you're on the radar, it doesn't matter what you do, they'll go after you. But yeah, you definitely can't talk about Palestine or Yemen or anything like that because
Yeah.
it's really hard PR to sell starving kids to death and running over someone's living room with a bulldozer and
Yeah.
saying, if I didn't do it, somebody else would. But anyway, yeah. You know what? We're going to be Yemen and Palestine. Places like Baltimore, Detroit, San Francisco, you're going to see failed cities.
Oh yeah.
Watch.
For sure.
If they
100%.
keep doing what they're doing, the lights are going to go off. You're going to have brownouts, you're going to have blackouts, and then you're going to have looting. It's about to get really bad. And it's not just because of the war in Ukraine. It's because of fucking liberals,
Yep.
radical left. And
Yep.
that is going to cause someone even nuttier than Trump is going to take the reins, and people will not care. They'd be like, anything to save us from this woke nightmare.
Yep. I totally
And
agree.
that guy, this is how you get goose stepping and stuff, man. Like,
I'm nervous.
I don't know. That's why I live here.
No, I get it, man. This is
Peace.
why yeah. Later.
Go ahead. I know you got to go. So see
Oh
you,
no,
man.
it's fine. It's fine. Later, guys.
That was Clint Russell, ladies and gentlemen. Always fun. Trying to get him off of Twitter was kind of hard. So I got to thank Reed Coverdale for being my middleman to contact him to get him on the show. He knows a lot about ESGs and economics in general. He's on with the judge often. I like the judge too. I'm trying to get him on the show sometime. Phil Giraldi's going to be with us Thursday. I can go ahead and announce that because he doesn't care if he gets the Hoffman letter. He's just going to ignore it. And we got some other guests. A very prominent Civil War historian will be on the show. Not saying which one, but that person's going to come on. We're probably going to talk about stinking Lincoln. So that'll be down the pipe. Thank you for the birthday wishes and all the shekels, everybody on Odysee and Entropy, and the some watching on Rumble and VK. Make sure you get the copy of this. I'll probably split this show in two and have one of Just Clint and one of Just Scott out later and put that on Substack. So we will see you then. Peace.